Tuesday, May 27th, will come to order, 2014. It's now 6:54. Stand for a moment of silence. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Bast.
Here.
Cassatt.
Here.
Mope. Here. Sosar.
Here.
Mundy.
Here. First, approving the minutes of the previous meeting, April 22nd, 2014, our regular meeting, May 6, 2014 work session, and the May 6, 2014 regular meeting.
Present.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes passed. Next is proclamations, communications. I guess, they're not
Joel's
here?
here.
They're not here? Who's here?
Joel is here.
Who?
Joel.
Oh, okay. We'll save the other one for when,
I could just mail it to them.
yeah.
I think they're done with school.
Oh, they're done?
Yeah, after this week.
Joel, you could come up here. Yeah, come right over here. This is a certificate of award. The certificate is awarded to Joel Aaron Soto in recognition for your participation in the City of Hazleton Junior Council Program for the 2013-14 school year. I guess we don't have to. Do we have to? We don't have to make a motion to approve it. Well, congratulations. Thank you. Next is courtesy of the floor regarding matters on our agenda only. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. On Resolution 2014-64, appointment to the Blight Building Committee. Now, I would like to know when are the other appointments going to be made, and if they are going to be, if the mayor is going to appoint them as specifically stated in Section 12.1 of the Urban Redevelopment Law, which states 1 member of council, 1 member of planning, 1 member of redevelopment, and 2 mayor appointments.
The mayor didn't let us in on that, on his timetable, Mark, so we'll have to tune in.
All right. Well, along those lines, I know that the mayor appointed somebody for the redevelopment authority. Now, I would like to know what qualifications does that person have, especially when it comes to real estate or construction, specifically pertaining to blighted properties.
He didn't let us in on that either.
Really? Okay. Resolution 2014-65, as far as removing of Panzarella as the UCC building code and appointing Kyle Kehoe. I'd like to ask the council to vote no on this, and the reason is for the specific point that Alfred Benish is being asked to do the building code inspection, which is kind of like saying, okay, you have Dominic Yanuzzi doing the building or the engineering for the city, and you have Mr. Kehoe, who's is also part of Alfred Benish. So, I mean, don't we see a pattern here as far as Alfred Benish goes when it pertains to the mayor? I mean, I guess it's pick and choose your engineer as long as the engineer says yes to the mayor and not does anything in compliance with anything, I guess. But also on 2014-67, as far as the resolution to award a contract for the planning for the community planning and development programs for 2015, 16, and 17. This goes back to what I said during the work session. Where's the planning commission on this? Isn't the planning commission supposed to be dealing with this matter, like as far as crafting a plan or helping to craft a plan for community development, or also the redevelopment authority, which is also closely aligned for...
I wish Fallon was here, but she isn't. She'd probably be able to answer that, but...
Karen?
Oh, Karen. Okay, maybe you can answer that. Go ahead.
Yes.
My name is Karen Parrish. I'm with Mullen & Lonergan. I've been associated with the city's consultant for about 20 years. The community development plan required by the U.S. Department of HUD is not a land use plan. Planning commissions tend to be land use planning oriented. This is a grant management plan, so it's very uniquely different. And while we would love to have the input of citizen comments, planning commissions, redevelopment authorities, social service agencies, it's a very comprehensive, discussion of the economics and housing situation of the city.
Well, the public should be involved.
It's not a land use.
But the public should be involved, which...
It will.
Okay.
That's a very keen item on HUD's agenda these days, is to ensure public participation, because the program is now 40 years old, and, it's gotten old. Only a few of us around from the get-go back in '74. So it's time to refresh its image and let people know what community development block grant funds do for the community. And so making people a part of the process and aware of the grants program is definitely important.
I'm glad you're here, because I would like to ask you a question as far as, would a comprehensive plan, an updated comprehensive plan for the city, help as far as with HUD asking if, say, for example, the city would be allowed to request for more funds for CD money, as far as, because the last time we updated our comprehensive plan was June of 1992. And I'm sure you know that a lot of things change between then and now, so.
Typical of most communities in Pennsylvania, you see most community plans are over 20 years old. It's unfortunate. No, HUD is a formula allocation, so no planning wouldn't change the HUD figures. However, a good comprehensive plan with a strong implementation actions section
Yes.
will definitely help you with state funding, to the extent that minimal state grants
There you
are
go.
still out there. Such
I was meaning to say either state or federal, but
Because really, the state is very keen right now on what's called implementable comprehensive plan. It's not a traditional comprehensive plan. It looks at all the traditional comprehensive plan components. Obviously, we're bound by the MPC, the state's code for plans.
yes.
But it focuses them, it really drills them down to specific issues, like stormwater, or like, some of the other things you're mentioning, depending on what the community chooses as its top issues to address. So while its comprehensive plan is still a land use plan, it's broadened now under that implementation.
But as you see, most people in the city don't know as far as with the municipality's planning code, and I'm trying to, enlighten them on that. But
Again, a planning commission and would be helpful and certainly desirable. Look at this one. More input from the community. But we'd be selected this evening. We'll do our best to get that input one way or the other.
okay, thank you very much for your answers. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And also, I have one more question as far as with the lease between the parking authority and the city. How are you going to authorize a lease before the construction's even done? I mean, they're going to be, Mr. D'Angelo and Mr. Hayden are going to be coming back to this in front of this council.
That's a good question, Mark. We're going to get some answers to that when we present that. They'll be here to answer some of our questions, so we'll get that answered shortly.
Okay, because the second phase of that
I know.
Keystone Communities grant, and also as far as with the traffic study, once again, shouldn't that be a planning commission thing? Because the planning commission, that's going back to what I'm sorry, Karen said about land use. This is a land use issue because when you're putting up signs and parking, that should be, the planning commission should help the council with these things. Also traffic flows. They should be helping you guys, but they're on the shelf.
We'll check with that. We'll check with them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Dee Deacus, Hazleton. Since there's an ordinance right now that you're going to be voting on, ordinance 2014-7, concerns parking. And of course, a lot of this parking will be involved for downtown Hazleton. Now, I'm just going to say, no permit shall be granted where adequate and readily available off-street parking is available. Now, I know in front of the Hayden's building, they have patient loading and unloading, and I have no problem with it. I really think that's very convenient. But they also have off-street parking. So now, according to this, they can't have it on Broad Street because you're going to tell them that they have to go into their parking lot. But they charge $5 when you go into that parking lot and leave it. So I'm just pointing out that there are some conflicts on it that you should look at. And again, if they take over the parking lot as well as a strip, and by the way, they do have a lot of reserved spaces on that strip. They have 3 that is for children and youth. They have 2 that belongs to Arcel, and there's 1 that belongs to the stockbroker firm. So they already have reserved spaces. So I'm just saying that now you're having more reserved spaces, and you're really going to make parking a mess. And this is something that before we go into any kind of lease, maybe there should be somebody that really maps out what is the parking situation going to be in Hazleton, because you cannot say, well, to revitalize this building, we're going to dedicate this parking, where on the other hand, it is going to hurt every other building. And in my case, it's my building, because, again, I rent it out to people. They probably use parking, and now I won't have it. So it's going to hurt every building that no longer has access to this preferred parking. And I don't think that's right. I think other options should be explored before you just give this away. And the other part is, I'm not even sure how come the city of Hazleton is part of this lease, because they don't own the parking authority yet.
I know.
And so, this is the whole thing. And there's one other issue. Didn't they get some gaming grant money to repair the parking garage, and then to now dedicate the parking garage to one entity? Is that really fair? Because they got other gaming grant money to do other things. And again, it skews who downtown belongs to. Will it belong to one corporation, or will it belong to all the many businesses that will be in downtown? Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Norman Tarantino, Hazleton again. Since I see there's a resolution or amendment to purchase new buses, what's happening with the old buses that are outdated? Is he doing anything to liquidate some of these old assets that are there?
Go ahead, you can answer that. Go ahead.
The old buses that we're going to be retiring, the one bus we're going to try selling because it's somewhat still in decent condition. The other 2 will go on a public auction. We listed on, it's out for the public. Anybody would like to purchase the bus.
And that goes back to the general fund then of the city, or what?
We operate on state and federal funds, but we're separate from the city.
They have a separate budget, Norman.
Okay.
They have a separate budget.
Okay.
It goes back into their budget.
But, okay. And the other thing is, who actually controls the gaming money? Does that come into one lump sum, or do you apply for each grant separately when you ask
Have
for
to
something
apply
to happen?
separately for
Yeah,
grants.
apply separately.
Very separately, so it all depends on, that goes to the project that it gets approved for.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on our agenda? Go ahead, Karen, you could come up.
I sort of got introduced already, but for
Yeah.
the record, Karen Parrish with Mullen and Lonergan Associates. Our main office is in Camp Hill, but I'm not from that far away. I just want to thank Fallon and for recommending us once again to continue our service to the community. As I said earlier, we've been the city's consultant for very many years, and feel we'd be in a good position to provide the city with a quality document, as we have every 5 years since this new 5-year planning thing became part of the process. It's a little different this year. There's more input requirements from HUD. It's also done electronically on IDIS. God help us. And it is, but it continues to be the benchmark under which HUD evaluates the program. So we set goals, we set objectives, and then based on the funding, we see if we've met those goals and we've met those objectives. And each year, those are reported back to the community under the annual performance report, the CAPER. So we're about to evaluate the 5th year then of the city's program at the end of 2014. The 2013 caper was produced back in March, so we have a pretty good sense of what the community's been able to achieve with the money and where it will go, into the future with the money. And along with the 5-year plan is the annual plan, so we will be coming back to council with an idea of the budget. It's the timetable is getting tight for the 5-year plan. We generally like to have 3 or 4 months to do the community outreach and the writing of the document. We're down to 3 months now and counting. So it's getting tighter and tighter. We do have to have a plan to HUD by November 15th. There's a 30-day display period. There's, the council agenda considerations.
Karen, why are we down to 3 months?
I'm sorry?
Why are we down to 3 months?
Well, till we, well, that's what I'm saying. If we have to deliver it to HUD in November, 30-day display period means it has to be on display no later than, 15th of October. But given the council meeting dates, it really has to be on display in September to meet your council's schedule.
He means, why did we start this late?
Oh, why did we start this late? Well, it didn't really start this late. It just hasn't gotten to you very quickly because it went through a lot of vetting with all the turnover in the community development office. It was sort of backburnered for a few, better part of a month. So that unfortunately puts pressure on you all. It wasn't something was anticipated. It just sort of happened.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
How different is this contract from the last one? Is it?
Well, the last contract didn't include a 5-year plan, but the contract before that did, and it's very similar. Very similar. Our
How about in
hourly
price?
rate is a little different given the 8-year gap, but 6-year gap. But we do this every 3 years. The city must advertise, must evaluate proposals that are received. There was one other proposal this year, I understand. I'm, of course, not privy to that information specifically, and Fallon is on the way here. But at this point, she, and I don't know who else in the city, looked at both proposals and decided to recommend in favor of Mullen and Lonergan again. And for that, we are grateful.
Have we ever been fined or had to pay back any money from CD?
Not that I can recall. I really cannot recall. I know there was a couple findings 20 years ago, 15. That's what brought Mullen and Lonergan in at that time. And there was a housing rehab thing that took us a while to work out with HUD in the interim, but I can't think of any other specific monetary findings. We've had concerns. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect program, but this community's been pretty darn close to one. Fallon actually, and one of the first things she had to do on her own here recently was host a HUD monitoring visit, and everything seemed to go quite well. Now, we haven't gotten the letter yet, but from what I understand, the exit interview was quite positive, and we were able to answer a couple questions immediately after the exit interview of things that Fallon didn't know where they were, but were readily available. Because there's, 20 years of history, 30 years of history here.
A letter of review?
They will send a letter, yes. They're not particularly fast about it, but we do expect one in the next month or two.
Did you make sure we all get a copy of that letter?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, if it's a really good letter with nothing to follow up on, we do have to publish that in the newspaper saying, we got a great end of the year clearance. And if it's not, we have to go back and forth to HUD until we get to that great end of the year clearance and then publish it in the paper.
Is that pretty much a form of just another audit that you've got to go through with HUD every year to determine how things were run and where the money was spent,
It's not so much an audit.
No?
It's not a financial audit, let me put it that way. The annual report that I do is more of a financial audit.
Okay.
This was more of a procedural audit. What are you spending the money on? Have you followed the procurement regulations? Have you followed the procedural regulations? Is everything in order? And that's what they were looking at. Are all your projects eligible? Do they meet a national objective? Are you following the rules? And so it's more of a performance monitoring.
Okay.
Did you get an inclination of the direction that the city wants to head in the 5-year plan?
Well, we haven't, started that conversation yet. So that would be, that'll be the first thing on the agenda would be to reach out to you all as well as the public, local agencies that either may want to or have in the past received community development funds to undertake projects and to look at what we can do. I know Mr. Sosar and I earlier discussed that in July, HUD is anticipating releasing new income
Yeah.
statistics for the first time in 11 years. So instead of using 2000 census data, we will be finally brought up to the current. And that's going to present a whole new, hopefully, set of opportunities for the city. And that also will have to be factored in as we look at, how you want to spend the money over the next 5 years. So the only thing constant about community development is change. It's a new job every Monday.
Make sure that you keep us abreast of everything.
Absolutely.
That's going on.
Found it interesting
Absolutely.
in the article last Wednesday that in Luzerne County, and I don't think it's evenly distributed, I think it's much more of our southern Luzerne County area, but Luzerne County has experienced a 46% increase in poverty, and especially amongst families with minor children.
Wow.
So,
I tried to find
I
that
would-
article online. If you have a
I
copy, that'd
will.
be
I'll drop
great.
it off for you. I
That would
have it
be
at home.
great.
I'll drop it off for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw some summaries of the report, and I emailed
Right.
the woman for the full report, but unfortunately, they didn't post the
Yeah,
full
these
article
were the
online.
leading economic indicators that came on out just
Yeah,
recently.
lots of press coverage, but no details.
Right.
So I'll look forward to
you.
seeing the article.
Thank you.
But I'll be here if there's any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
No other questions for what's on our agenda today? We'll move on. Old business, ordinance 2014-7, an ordinance regulating the issuance of customer parking only, patient parking, patient loading and unloading only. Ordinance 2014-7.
Present.
This is to take off the table?
No, this is,
Second
this is the
Second reading.
second reading.
Okay, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong one. Oh, okay, sorry.
I'll second it.
On the question?
I just wanted to remind everybody that this is not a tax or a fee. If you think your business is fine with the current parking situation, you don't need to do anything. If you think a reserved spot in front of your business would be an asset to your customers, then it's something you should look into. The city should control any space that does not have a parking meter, and this does not overrule the parking if there's a parking meter there. I think the ordinance gives a fresh start to the city's inventory of properly erected signs, and I've gone through the ordinances for the last 12 years, and I believe there are many signs that have been erected without council approval, which I believe makes those signs invalid. So this should bring us up to date.
Jeff, one thing, when the signs are up, how long is parking permitted at the sign? Is there a meter still there, or is this a
No,
sign?
this won't,
This doesn't.
if there's a
go
meter
front.
there, we can't put a sign up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no meters
And then if it's a
involved.
business, it goes by the business's hours of operation that
Okay.
will be posted.
Dee brought something up interesting, though. How will we address it if they have, and I think it's a good idea to have patient drop-off in front of a building, but if they have their own private parking lot, like the Hayden building has, she had brought that up during,
Well, I guess they could apply for a sign, and then it would come in front of for approval or not.
okay, just so
I mean,
that there's
Broad Street is a state road, so and there's meters there, so I don't know how that.
just so there's
Okay,
no problem with
good.
it, only because I understand patients need to have close accessibility to the front of the building.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're not trying to hurt anybody. We're trying to help the small business here.
Any other questions? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes,
Mundy.
Yes. Third reading
Present.
second.
on the question? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes,
Mundy.
Yes. That's it for ordinances, resolutions. We're going to move the resolution for John Ford, Resolution 2014-70, in memoriam John Ford. And Jeff, if you want to, would you like to read that?
If I may. Resolution 2014-70. in memoriam of John Ford. Whereas John M. Ford, a citizen of Hazleton, was born on August 27, 1929, the son of John and Josephine Casadas Ford. And whereas John was married to his beloved wife, Rose, for 61 years. And whereas John was the founder of Hazleton Standard Fuel Company and the John Ford Trucking Company. And whereas John was the 22nd mayor of the city of Hazleton from 1986 to 1987. And whereas John was the first president of city council under the new form of government. And whereas John saved the federal building, the former post office, and turned it into the Luzerne County Courthouse Annex. And whereas John was the chairman of the Hazleton Transit Authority. And whereas John was an advisor to Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush and Governor Tom Ridge. And whereas he was an advisor to the United States Senate, and served on numerous national and state committees. And whereas among his contribution, John was a mentor, friend, and a community leader. He was a devoted member of Queen of Heaven Parish at Our Lady of Grace Church, founder of Community Bank, N.A., and a member of the Board of Directors, and a member of Can Do, the Chamber of Commerce, the Hazleton Elks, the West Hazleton Lions, Unico, United Charities, and many other local organizations. John was also a longtime supporter of Helping Hands Society and was always willing to help anyone who asked. And whereas the Honorable John M. Ford passed away on Thursday, May 8, 2014, now therefore it be here resolved by the Council of the City of Hazleton and on behalf of the City of Hazleton and its citizen, whom John Ford so faithfully and honorably served, that the thanks of the City of Hazleton and its citizens is hereby expressed to the beloved family of John M. Ford for his numerous accomplishments and contributions and years of service to the community he loved. And be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Hazleton does hereby express its deep sorrow, personal and on behalf of the citizens of the City of Hazleton, to his family for their loss. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be inscribed, framed, and displayed at City Hall, and that copies thereof shall be presented to the family of John M. Ford as a token of his esteemed gratitude for the City of Hazleton.
You want to present?
I'll present.
I'd like to second it.
On the question? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes.
I'd like to add, and he will definitely be greatly missed for our community. It was a great loss. Thank you.
Here, here.
Next is our resolution 2014-53, awarding the audit for 2013, 14, and 15. Was tabled on 5/6/14.
The table.
Yeah, we could just
Leave
leave
it
it tabled, and we could leave it tabled for now.
Do we have to take it off the table to put it back on?
No, we'll bring it back. That's it for ordinances. Resolutions 2014-63, approving the purchase of 2 Gillig buses, 1 transit bus for Hazleton Public Transit.
I'll present.
Second.
On the question,
On the question.
you could come to the podium, Ralph. Just state your name and your position.
Ralph Sharp, Director, Hazleton Public Transit. We're looking to replace 3 buses, a 2000, which is 2 years overdue. We're supposed to replace our larger buses every 12 years, and also 2 2002s, which are due too. So we want to get 2 29-foot Gilligs, 1 25-foot Ford E450 cutaway bus.
Tom, just one question real quick. And I know because of traveling back and forth to Wilkes-Barre and some of the other communities and all that, I see that these are diesel
Yes.
buses. How do they rank up energy efficiency, maybe in comparison to? And were you able to investigate? I've got to believe that they're probably a lot more expensive, like the natural gas buses and things like that. Or is that unaffordable?
We looked into hybrids and also the natural gas. The 29-foot Gillig is $399 purchase for one. If we went with the natural gas, we're looking at about $460. So it's around $60,000 more, plus we need a fueling facility, which we
Well,
don't...
and that was just, you know, as I'm asking the question, I'm thinking, and I don't think there's a natural gas facility close by. You'd have to almost lose money to drive back. What's the closest? Wilkes-Barre?
I would, well, Scranton is just getting one, they're starting to build one up in Scranton, Colts.
Okay, okay.
I don't know if Wilkes-Barre has one, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But we
I
need a
just take
grant
that
first
back.
to build a
Yeah.
facility to, I mean, if we did do that, we could probably sell natural gas if other agencies went to natural gas.
Right.
But right now, we don't have that option.
But these certainly would be better than some of the other ones that we
Yes.
have going right
Yes,
now.
absolutely.
And they are as energy efficient as possible.
I'm sorry.
No,
What
I'm
would be the savings in fuel over time? Would the difference,
Well,
how quickly would you make that $60,000 difference up?
I'd have to look in.
drive to Scranton to get them filled.
Well, I'm saying if it was here, if we had one here, I was just curious.
Well, we're going to save fuel with the 25-footer, because we had a 29-foot, so we have a route that the ridership isn't that great. So we downsized to a 25-foot, so we're going to save fuel with that one right off the bat. The difference between the natural gas and a diesel, offhand, to be honest with you, I couldn't tell, but I could look into that if you'd like.
Well, maybe down the road, it's something to look into.
Okay, sure.
It's got to be
I believe
becoming
that
more
the
and more useful. I mean, if more and more places are going to natural gas, it would seem as though, if not this time, maybe it would be the next time that we've got to go through this cycle again. It's just something for us to keep updated on.
Now,
Sure.
maybe we'd be able, from a private company who stores that and using it, we'd be able to maybe
For fuel.
buy fuel from them.
Well, we can
And,
base, the D'Angelos are into that with their fleet, so we can,
Well, it's something to look into
Okay, sure.
down the road,
Okay.
especially if the savings is significant. Plus, they're quieter, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we have to,
Yes.
yeah, we could do a study from
And they're less
from them.
less carbon monoxide.
Cleaner, yes.
I know they're catching on everywhere.
They are, yes, I know.
Yeah, everywhere.
How is the ridership going at this point?
Our senior ridership is slightly down, which is normal, okay, in our area.
Right.
Our Humboldt and Wilkes-Barre route, the ridership is up. We're anticipating a great increase in the Humboldt route once they open up the new American Eagle plant out in Humboldt.
Yeah.
So we're anticipating a big increase with that.
How often do buses go out there, Ralph?
Our first run leaves at 5:19 in the morning, a.m. from the station. It runs till 8:25. That bus comes back to the station for 8:25, and then we take that bus up to Wilkes-Barre to Wyoming Valley Mall, Mohegan Sun, and all throughout Mountaintop. Actually, they asked us if we could possibly, we're working with Wilkes-Barre LCTA to go into the square now, because after it leaves the Mohegan, we have some people that want to get into the square. So instead of selling a transfer, we'll take them right down into the square. So we're working with that. The issue right now is getting into that new terminal they have, because you have to, if you pull in, you have to back out. So you need a flagger. So they're trying to work on something. I'm going to be talking to County Council in Wilkes-Barre about if we can have a stop-off at a corner right on the square.
How much does it cost to go to Wilkes-Barre on the bus?
$2 each way. So for $2, you can leave Hazleton and get dropped off at the mall or Mohegan Sun, and then to come back, return trip is another $2. So $4 round trip.
Round trip.
And
That's good
I
price.
would ask you to,
Versus $9 one way for the regular bus.
Really? Wow.
I would ask you to investigate, and it's only because I teach up there, and it's going to sound like it's self-serving, and I don't mean it to be. But there are a lot of people who, whether it be through jobs, through work, or schooling, there are 3 institutions up there, and when you get to the square, it's very easy for individuals to pick up a bus and go all the way, the rest of the way to Nanticoke. So it might be something that you guys may want to look at and coordinate with your Wilkes-Barre counterparts even a bit more. Mohegan Sun is a great stop, but you've got a lot of students here who are looking for, they have money to go to school at the Wilkes and the or the Luzerne and the Kings and all that, but they may not have money to stay there. And so I think it's something worthwhile for you to take a look at.
You go to Luzerne the colleges.
No, when we leave the station, we go down 309 and we'll stop at Rittenhouse Place or Groceries Plus first. then Rittenhouse Square. Then we continue on to St. Jude's, the Rite Aid and Mountaintop, and then we go into the mall and Mohegan Sun. But anywhere along the route, if you're there, we'll stop. It doesn't have to be those specific stops.
Okay, but if you hit the square, don't forget, that's where the buses leave from,
Correct.
to go to Nanticoke, and the other schools are just 3 blocks in either direction.
Yeah.
So it's a given. You can get ridership there. I know you can pick up ridership.
Like I said,
Yeah.
we're working on
So
getting
I
into
think
the square now.
I think a study there would be worthwhile.
As a parent of students, in the Wilkes-Barre area, trust me, I know the transportation, it would be beneficial to take a bus rather, especially in inclement weather when you're
Yeah. Sure.
worried. Okay?
Okay.
So, yeah, something to look into.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Resolution 2014-64, appointment to the Blighted Building Committee, Charles Ziegler.
Present.
Second. On the question?
We'll present it.
Jeff. On the question? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-65, removing Diane Panzarella as the UCC Building Code official and appointing Kyle L. Kehoe of Alfred Benish and Company as the UCC Building Code official for the city of Hazleton. Present it.
I'll second.
On the question?
Basically, Chief, this is because Diane does not want to be the BCO anymore, correct? And we need a BCO to be able to sign permits, et cetera.
It's due to the fact that Diane resigned as BCO.
Okay, she resigned as
Right.
BCO.
And
we do need someone to be able to sign permits, and right now, we currently
Correct.
do not have anyone to be
That's
able to sign
correct.
permits.
And they already, excuse me, Keith, I'm sorry, they already do the work anyway. Benish does the UCC work anyway.
right,
It's
they
just a
do the
matter of signing a
inspections.
paper.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't want to downplay a role of a BCO, but the fact of the matter is that whether or not Benish is the BCO, we are already paying Benish to do the
work.
inspections.
What we might want to do, Chief, is maybe put the word out there that we maybe would like to see someone else train and do this work, and maybe we could offer them some extra incentive to do that, so we don't have to use Kyle Kehoe.
This, as a matter of fact, thank you. You could put a time limit on this again like we did last time. This is not my end-all, see-all plan to a BCO for the city. I plan on doing exactly that, whether or not we advertise in the paper and try to get applicants or we try to get someone else from the city trained. I would like to see the city in charge of its own destiny for these issues. My interim plan for immediate BCO signing of permits is to bring back who we had prior to Diane.
Would it be, does anybody have a problem then in making an amendment to this, that we would see this through a year and then get ready to approve it for, redo this at a time once we have, because I agree with you on that. I would not like to see this on infinitum. If
Well, we
we've got
could change that anytime, David. We don't need to put a time limit.
Okay,
we
that's
could
fine, as long as
anytime-
we,
if the
we
chief
can do
comes
it
up
at
with
any
somebody-
time.
If you come up with somebody, if you advertise and have somebody who's qualified, you're fine, you bring them in here and we appoint them the
Yeah, I mean, if we put a time limit on her and say through,
Then we're
May,
stuck,
whatever,
yeah.
we're stuck
Okay.
for a year.
Okay.
Yeah, if you
Okay,
find
I
somebody,
agree.
and which, that might be the case, or try offering it to other people who'd like to get it, and maybe give them an incentive, I think.
Sure. I mean, I'm game for anything at this point, especially if
Anything that
it's
could
good for
save
the
the
city.
city some money,
Right.
and, they obviously get more money than we would pay our persons.
Right.
But I'd rather give half of that money to someone else.
Right,
And he gets, what, $65 to come in and sign a paper?
He's $65 an hour, whether he's fighting or marching, so to speak.
Okay,
So
well,
if he's here, I
I'd
anticipate.
I'd rather see one of our people get that
Right.
money than
Agreed.
see it go out.
Did
the door.
anyone ask if this lady would reconsider if she was compensated for her time?
I absolutely refuse to ask, and I don't mean that ignorantly, but I can't be bound by any city employee that I supervise that comes to me and says, I resign, then to go back to that same individual
Yeah,
and
I
say,
don't think
I
you should
can't
do
do
that
that.
either.
Otherwise, everybody in code, everybody in health, and everybody in the police department will
Jeff,
resign.
I agree with the
No,
chief.
okay, I mean, I know she went on her own to get this, she paid for it, and she got no extra compensation for it. So if you're gonna pay somebody $65 an hour to come in and do it, to me, I just thought maybe if you'd ask her,
The issues are much deeper than compensation.
okay.
And leave it at that.
Yeah,
Okay.
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 Thank you, chief.
Thank you very much.
Roll call.
Bast,
Yes.
Casat,
Yes.
Moak,
Yes,
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-66, the contract for materials 2014.
I'll present.
Second.
On the question?
Do we have any idea how much this will take care of throughout the city during this time period? Guys, I don't know, and I'm putting you on the spot, I know. But how far does this take us? Do we have any idea?
I couldn't honestly answer that.
Again, and I, you know what, I know, God bless you, it's a hard job, and especially right now with, I mean, we've gotten through the worst of the winters that we've experienced in years, and what the plans are and all that. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I was just kind of, if there's a window as to how far this will take us.
I couldn't honestly answer that.
Okay, I mean, I know we need it, and I that's where I'm at with this, and I'm not going to say no to it, but I was just wondering if there was an idea.
David,
Yes, sir.
not to
Yes.
put him on the spot.
Yeah.
This is something
Well,
that
this
the
is something that
department head should
yes,
have been here
and I agree with you. And it's a shame that we don't have a department head here to answer that question.
Exactly.
You know, I just, when you don't have the department heads, you kind of bow to guys that you know are in the trenches.
Are you know if these are the same people we had last year? I see Midland Asphalt, Pensy Supply, Eckley,
Asphalt.
Hazleton.
Some of them I remember.
Are they different, you know?
And not that I can recall, you know, I mean, like I said, I'm out there putting stuff down.
Right, right.
Drawing it up.
You don't care where it comes from as long as you can use it.
We could fill some holes.
I gotcha.
That's what I'm looking at.
Right,
And Lord knows you know what the problem is with that.
right. Yeah. Some of them are as deep as I am.
What I don't understand is
That's
why,
not that
why
big.
everybody's,
I knew there was a shot coming there.
Are you the guy with the fishing pole, I see?
I'm going to put a tree in one of them, like in Scranton.
Oh, that was used in 2011.
Thank you, thank you.
Sorry I couldn't be of more.
No, that's okay, that's okay.
well, these are all delivered, Mike. They deliver these. It says delivered.
I see, sir, I saw that. I don't know, I noticed stone, I'm assuming would be for the Durapatcher. And I guess it's for some paving projects too, but I didn't really read into it in depth and,
Okay.
you know.
It's all cold stuff, so it can't be delivered.
I'm just going to say one more thing. I want to still see that other piece of machinery in action, because I think that still can help us out tremendously in this town.
Well, they said we're supposed to have, and I'm praying that it holds true, we're supposed to have, what would you call it? Not a display,
Demo.
demonstration, thank you, a demonstration of that machine. So hopefully they get a call, we get a call from Frankie Vito, and we can take a trip up to the city garage and see it in action.
I'll be there.
They said
I-
sometime in June.
I don't think we even needed them. I talked to the guy from Kingston. He loves it. He said he wish he had 10 of them.
Yep.
He said it's he gets people that have asphalt that they don't use to dump it on his driveway, and he brings that machine over and reuses it again. So he's getting free asphalt.
Right.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
That's it.
and don't you think we could do an awful lot at this time of year? I mean, I know it's going to take a heck of a long time during winter to do this, but during the summertime, besides all the other ways that we're filling potholes, this would be an ideal way to do it, and it's only 2 people.
But the point that I liked was all that asphalt that we dug up from the
Yeah.
Broad Street Corridor
Right.
project and the side streets and
Yeah.
whatnot, it all is reusable.
Right,
All
right.
right, so it's free product that the city's getting. And, for the price, you can't beat it. Kingston is asking for 2 and 3 of those machines. They won't share it with the other municipalities that went in on the grant with them. They want to keep it themselves. So, yeah, I think it's beneficial.
I would agree with you. I mean, I haven't seen the machine work, and I would love to see it.
Yeah, well, that's what we
We have
said.
a lot of milling, so if that's...
Frank promised me in June they're supposed to come to give a demonstration. So we'll see. But Jack's right. From what we were just told by the municipalities, we certainly don't need to see it, but I still would like to.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-67, resolution of the Council of the City of Hazleton awarding a contract to Mullen and Longeran Associates for the preparation of the consolidated annual submission for community planning and development programs for year 2015, 16, 17, and the 5-year Housing and Community Development Plan for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal year 2015 to 19, and related technical assistance.
I'll present.
Second.
On the question? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-68, authorization to execute lease agreement between the Hazleton Parking Authority, the City of Hazleton, and DHD Realty Holding Company, LLC.
Present.
Second. On the question?
On the question.
Okay, maybe they're gonna,
Can do a
or somebody's gonna
presentation.
come up. Go ahead, you can just state your name and what company you're with.
Neil D'Angelo III. I'm with DBI Services and also representing DHD Realty Holding. Just a few things, just to, if it's okay, address some of the
I
concerns.
have one quick question.
Okay, go
Are you
ahead.
an officer in the holding company, or
I am an owner,
curious.
I guess a
realty
beneficiary.
company? The DHE Realty
I'm not an
Company.
officer, no.
Okay,
No.
okay.
I am a beneficiary of a trust that's owner, I guess, legally.
Okay, it's okay, sorry.
But, let's see. Miss Grace, I'm sorry, I didn't get your last name. Is it Kuzo? Okay, and Miss Degas. I had one of your Penn State classes. It was great, by the way. To talk about the spaces, DBI actually needs 120 to 140 spaces, so we will not be taking the entire garage for ourselves. There's other tenants downtown in the buildings and also for the public. So then you may ask, well, why do you need to rent the whole garage? There's several reasons for that. One of them is we need the security. We're looking to move. 2 years ago when we decided to move downtown, it wasn't an easy decision. And 140 cars, I don't know, if you want to come up the parking lot and look what that looks like. I mean, it's a lot of cars. So that was our number one concern before we chose downtown. So we really need the space and the security. And then the other reason is the maintenance. I think this should answer Ms. Dowd's question. We hear you every day. We have 30 people working and parking in that garage every day, and I get pictures sent to me with things falling, and I don't want to tell you, found in the stairwells. So it's in bad shape, and
While you're on that subject, it's scheduled to be rehabbed, right?
correct.
I mean, The reason being, the mayor doesn't inform us of what's going on with any building, but maybe you could enlighten us as what's going to happen with that building.
My understanding is the mayor has grant money that was awarded, I guess, from the original. I'm not even sure where it came from, to be honest. I think it was the robotic. Yes, and it got moved over to another facility for a robotic garage, and now he's moved some of that or a portion of that over to the Mine Street parking facility to be renovated. I believe he moved 1.6, already approved by DCD, as far as I understand, to renovate it and bring it up to, class A, so that things aren't falling down.
Do you know if they went out for bids or anything with that, or?
They have not. From my understanding, they have not. And that's part of our concern is the timing. We hope to be bringing our 120 new jobs downtown. Our building is pretty much, by the end of the year. And without the parking garage, and we're also in the process of building the bridge, which the aerial rights are owned by the NS, Mr. Norm. And we do have we do have a lease in place with the NS, for that space. So right now, our concern is we will have 120 more people coming downtown and parking. And
do you have an anticipation when the buildings might be ready, roughly?
Well, if you ask George Hayden, it'll be ready in October. We believe it'll be closer till December, till everything's ready and it's moving ready. But he's more aggressive. We're more just being cautious. But somewhere by the end of 2014, the building should be totally ready for us to move in. That also includes us, furniture and all that. Phase 2 of the project.
Mayor ready to go out for bids for the garage? Do you know? Or
I do not know. Him and Dominic have not really.
That's another thing. We don't need to know anything about.
And Dominic should be here too, and that's part of the problem too. And
yeah, we have no idea what's going on. You saw what she brings us, rocks. You get the same thing, plus the other stuff that's in the.
Mm-hmm. I apologize for that as well. This is something we've been working on for 2 years, and I hear.
Neil?
Yes.
I did not hear about this until probably less than a year ago. And I didn't hear it from the mayor. It was from someone else who knew about it and who knew about all the details and did not, we did not know anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I apologize for that.
It's not your fault, Neil. No, it's not your fault.
And
that's just
apologize.
Sometimes how government works. It shouldn't work that way, but that's sometimes how it is.
Had we been on board, okay, and not from the beginning because you are working out the details and whatnot, but at least if we were part of the information process, we don't know anything about the parking garage as far as engineering goes. We don't know if it's even able to have 1.6 million put into it, or if it's throwing good money in after bad. We don't know if it's structurally.
I can't answer that. We had spent and paid our architect to review the garage, the city engineer Dominic, I believe, actually took our print of all the things the garage needs. So obviously we wouldn't be interested in parking in the garage if we didn't believe it was a stable structure. So.
I had talked to your father at the fair that you said, which by the way was lovely. I enjoyed it. The food was great.
Thank you.
But he was interested in, I believe, maybe adding to it as well, but I don't know if it's structurally sound for that.
It is not. Well, we don't know. A study could be done, but we know that pillars can be put on the outside of the garage to put additional decks. It can be supported from around the garage, because that was something that we'd be interested in eventually someday, having a third or fourth deck on that.
Because right now what we know is that upper deck is roped off so that cars can't go up there because it is a danger.
Correct.
And we don't know really how structurally sound this
I
building is.
saw cars parked on the upper deck.
Only on one side, not on both sides.
Above the fire garage, I believe they're not allowed now at this point because they're not sure. But that should be fixed with the renovations, I believe.
And I believe, and I thank you for being so frank with me, the 1.6 million might just bring it up to code, but it's not going to be the complete renovation of the garage.
I don't know. I believe the 1.6 gets it to a point where it's nice, habitable. There's not things falling down. It's a safe place to park your car. I don't think it'll have anything fancy.
Well, we're not talking fancy. We're just talking about, finished.
Yeah.
Neil,
Finished.
Neil, is there any engineering report that has been done on the structure of the building itself that you're aware of?
I don't know about engineering. I have the architectural study with, all the deficiencies and approximate cost to repair.
Would not a civil engineering who is responsible for buildings and bridges and things like that, be more appropriate to take a look at and say, here is what this building has, here is where the defects are, and here's what is going to be a general cost to the entire structure. I know that it is, especially, and I applaud you if you're going to build it on up, that you would want to add support to it, because I think it would need it after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Something that is a 1970s building would probably need that. But and here are some of my concerns. I'd like to see, if at all possible, an engineering report that is going to address the needs of the building itself. Is it 1.6, as Jeannie just said, does 1.6 bring the building on up to what is absolutely necessary for that building, and how does it leave the building once the 1.6 is finished?
I believe I have a report that can show you that. I don't have it from a...
Show that to me.
Okay.
I'd really like to see that.
You have it electronically, Neil?
I do have it electronically.
You can send them to the council, even get it to Lisa so that she can forward it to us.
You could just send it
That would be
to
wonderful.
Lisa, and then she'll email it to us, Neil.
Okay.
I'd also suggest, especially with the work that you want to do in building that tower up on the
clearance for the...
Eventually give you the clearance and go into the building, which is your walking tower. A garage is a garage is a garage, and it doesn't need to deal with anything from the planning commission, but I would suggest to you that you may want to double check and see if, in fact, because that's new structure, and new structure might need some more steps to be fulfilled in regards to that, in regards to city law that might help you with that and say, yeah, we'll approve that because we've got all of the blueprints, we've got all the architects, we've got the engineering. So you may want to check with planning on that as well.
I unfortunately, George Hayden and his team are managing all the construction end of things.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not the expert on the construction.
And only because when I was talking to some people in planning, they had mentioned that, and also you're connecting tunnels, because they're new construction. And I just wanted to make you aware of that. If you're going to use only 120 to 140 parking spaces downtown, and I understand that you would not want maintenance and you would want security with that, is there some way that we can create, if at all possible, because there are these other questions which are very, very important to me, but certainly, obviously, the other citizens of this town, people who are going to Luzerne County Community College, people who are living in and around that area and all that, that you could create a working relationship with. I think is a good tenant downtown. I think that's one of the things that you want to deal with. And
I think what he's saying, excuse me, Doctor, I think what you're trying to get at is, how do we know you're not going to use the whole building for yourself and not allow, you're gonna, the lease is yours. We would like you to set aside some spaces for the people down there.
Do you know?
That's not in that's not in the lease, right, Neil?
Neil, how many
I don't
spaces-
believe
do you know
it
how
is.
many spaces are actually in that parking garage when it's finished?
When it's finished, I don't know. That's part of the. I think once we're going to determine my numbers I've been given is 215 in the garage, and then there's like another 30 along Main Street, I believe.
Yeah, and
So
then
it's-
plus you have
I thought it was
Those
more
are
like
around
around
245.
220, 225 altogether, and that's just in the garage.
Right, and there is some additional parking above the fire garage, which is why the city is in the parking in the lease. Ms. Dekas, the city actually does own a parcel of land. I believe it's the park or the fire station, of which we don't want, and I believe the city's keeping. So we just want the spaces.
The fire station is not?
The fire station is, I believe, that structure to the left. And again, I'm not a lawyer. This is what I'm told.
Trying to put you on the spot. That was one of the questions earlier.
The fire structure is owned by the city, not the parking authority, according to our
Yes.
council.
Fire station, yeah.
And that's why they are a party to the lease, and, because I think that question was asked, and we don't need that space, so I don't believe it should not be part of the rental that we're looking to rent. So the city will maintain control or keep that.
But also, too, Mine Street's parking spaces, the parking spaces from the garage. Now, Chestnut Street's not included in here because those streets are city streets, so it doesn't have to be part of the lease agreement with the parking authority, all right, because they belong to us. But, I mean, you're tying up all of the parking spaces on the southern half of the city, all right, which I agree with David. We have to have some type of discussion here because people need to be able to park, such as this woman and the people from the high rise, such as D, such as businesses. And I understand you need 120 to 140 spaces, but that's a heck of a lot more. My question is, if you have lease of all these spaces, are you going to be now a leaseor and lease them out to other entities?
Yes, sublease.
Sublease?
Yes.
All right.
And we plan on honoring any leases that are there. I mean, there's no, if
And
people
now-
are parking in that garage today with a lease, we don't plan on kicking them out, I guess.
now what-
And we're not looking to profit from this. If I think that's going to be.
I'm asking, you know, at what price do you intend to do it with?
Hard call to make it this.
Well, it would. The only thing I would say is, I mean, we're obviously, the lease says $30 a space, and the reason it's $30 a space is we're taking all the maintenance over, so there's a large cost in maintaining the garage, and it's.
I understand.
The reason I was asking is because she's paying, what, $55.50?
Well, 55, and that's for, I believe, I mean, there are spaces on the top that we're renting now for below $30 from the parking authority that our tenants are in now. So 55, I believe, is a space specifically for you, correct?
Yes.
I have a reserved spot with a number on it.
Right.
And it's 45 something if you don't want to park in a number. My only concern is, I'm okay with paying what I'm paying now, even to you guys, to whoever I have to pay it to, as long as I'm not out or up on the roof, because I cannot shovel.
Right.
So that's the concern, that's why I'm in that garage for the winter, because I cannot shovel.
You and a lot of other people, too.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of people that, the elderly,
That come in there, yeah.
the college students and whatnot.
There's only 47 parking spaces there, and there's 174 apartments in that building.
Right.
So a lot of people in winter are parking over there, and they never touch their car. I mean, it
Just
stays
sits there.
And they'll lose all of that, and there's nowhere to go, because Chestnut Street, that is owned by the Hazleton parking, that little parking lot behind that bank. That's part of the Hazleton parking authority.
Right. Which sits empty quite a bit. I mean, there are spaces over there from the way I walk around, but.
But I'm asking more like the people who aren't gonna be there day and night, that can leave at 5 o'clock and go home.
Yeah, you are.
One of the things that we.
Work schedule is an example of that. If I remember correctly, when we started, you have a turnover where actually a lot of the spaces can be utilized at different times. Your need for a parking space is going to be at one section of the day, but
Right.
you know, parking spaces can come and go. If I'm going to rent it from such and such a time to such and such a time, you know, it's almost like you know, it really is renting space for a part of a day. There really becomes a dual amount of spaces that you've got if you've got a person who's working night shift versus a person who's working day shift. Those spaces should not necessarily have to remain empty if somebody's coming in during the daytime and wants to shop downtown or wants to come in and visit in a building,
Absolutely.
like your building or the Hayden building or whatever else it may be, or go to school.
We have a restaurant opening up in a couple months down there. That, you know, so I mean, there's a lot,
And that's
and we
gonna
hope to keep
require-
that. And we just hope to keep that happening
I hope
down
like
there.
heck that it's a massive success, but that means also that people are going to need to have a place to park to come in
I
and
agree.
get their food.
I agree.
You know? Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Hence why I'm standing before you. I need somewhere to park.
You know the timetable, okay, that 1.6 million that they have to do repairs, is there a time frame of how long that might take? Do you have an idea?
I don't. I'm just told they can do it quickly.
They can, quickly means within a couple months.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the whole process.
I'm just as.
I know there's a sense of urgency here, and you need to do this soon, like right away. like either this meeting or the next meeting. And Joe has to go out, our mayor, and has to go out and get the bids and get the work done, which, you know, waiting this long isn't our fault. That's Joe's fault, so the mayor's fault.
I can guarantee you that it won't be done for the end of the year if Joe's in charge of it. He'll be lucky to get it by next summer.
Thanks for that vote of confidence in our mayor, Chief, but,
No, it's true.
but,
I'm just being honest.
but we don't want to be the ones to hold you up, but you need something right away.
But
I do.
I would,
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest that, number one, and I after asking the questions that I did, I hope you'll understand.
I do.
I would like to postpone this for one meeting only so that you can get us the reports. You can have some meetings with people in the general area.
Okay.
And I would encourage you to do that so that when we come back here at a next meeting, maybe we are on all the same page so that we know what, I mean, this has been kind of thrown at us quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't feel comfortable tonight just turning around and saying, oh yeah, okay, because then, and we'll just take everything as it comes. I would like to see the reports. I would like to see, you know, some future plans for it, regardless of parking, regardless of working with the tenants in hand, so that we know what's going to happen.
I think Dr. Sosar would like to maybe, and what you're saying is some type of language in the contract saying so many parking spaces are set aside for the public, or a percentage.
Right.
Or some minimum that even goes beyond what, you
And
know,
those
what
that are
they
there
use.
already have the first dibs on them,
Well,
because
they should.
that would be fair.
I mean,
Can I?
go ahead, Keith, sorry.
One of my concerns too is that it's basically $30 per spot for 10 years, right?
Correct.
That's, in the last 10 years, inflation is 25%, which puts in 10 years that same dollar figure, $7,956. If inflation goes up and it goes up for you to keep the garage, you're going to charge people more because it's going to cost more for you to maintain it. Which is, I just don't understand why it's the same price, 6,000. Right, there's nothing in there that
beyond
says
even the 10 years,
yeah,
even
like
with your
like
renewals.
for that 10 years, it's the same $6,340 for that same space. And
But,
I mean, so that $6,340 that the city's getting on income on year one, we're in year 10, we're getting 25% less of what we got in year one in year 10.
right.
I mean, we can only, by giving it to you for the same price, we're actually taking a 25% loss in year 10 than year one.
Yeah.
Well, it isn't even
So,
beyond,
that-
now there's
that's-
renewal periods too,
just to be
Neil.
completely
So I'm
honest
not
with you,
saying,
There is renewal periods, and there is, you know, agreed upon after 10 years with CPI calculations in there. I mean,
I didn't see that.
there is.
I did not.
I saw
did
the
not.
renewal
What page
It's-
is
it's-
that on? I didn't see that.
I didn't see like,
I don't know.
I read it quickly today.
After the 10-year lease, it goes into
option
consecutive
to buy.
5-year options.
right,
Purchase.
Option to purchase, correct.
and I saw something about renewal terms.
Right of first refusal in case the city were to look to sell it to someone else.
I didn't. What page is the CPI on, Neil? Do you have you have it there? Yeah.
But while user browsing and what, everybody seems to forget, one of the bad habits that the city has is always putting the cart before the horse. We did not take the parking authority on yet, all right?
Right.
And until that is done and finalized, you know, we don't own it. That's the
Right.
bottom line. You know, if we're signing an agreement on the contingency and whatnot, we didn't even put it in the budget. That's one of the things we're arguing about.
Right.
Right? Because we don't know, we're also means we're taking on their liabilities. Now, they just used a line of credit, and don't quote me on the amount, but it's anywhere from 47 to 57,000 that they just spent, all right? Which means has to be reimbursed by the city. And I don't know where we're getting that money from. We get hit with all this stuff with no details. and no plan of action of how they intend to address it. We're just supposed to vote.
Yeah, it's on page 3, the CPI. I see it, Neil. I got it. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Understand what I'm saying?
I do, yeah, and to be honest, I don't there's no comment, I guess, on the budget, and I have.
It's a lack of cooperation between the administration and council. I mean,
But it's not that's not your fault.
No, the only thing I know is any delays here delay our project, which in the end delays our people from coming downtown, and it's a concern for us.
So our also is the tax dollars that are involved in it.
I understand.
What we're saying is, it's not you, we don't blame you, it's the lack of communication. You communicate with the mayor, or he communicates with you, but we certainly don't get the information. So we have to come asking like beggars at the last minute to say, please send us this info so we can make a determination. And we're trying to do what's best for everybody. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We're trying to do what's best for the taxpayers, what's best for the businesses downtown, what's best for the people that utilize that facility, all right? What's best for you who are bringing into our area. And it's not that your work isn't appreciated, it is, but we have to look at the whole picture.
And
So are we, though, to be honest. We want what's best for
I
you.
understand that. And thank you for your patience with us.
And something I'm just looking at is, when you look at that, the difference as far as 25% based on inflation over 10 years, the problem that's gone on in this government for the last 20 years is that there's been small fixes and selling things for the last 20 years that this government in the city of Hazleton has done to try to, reduce taxes or keep taxes at a minimum. And it's been all these one-year wonder fixes. And the mayor's there for 1 year. He's looking at, okay, I'm getting $72,000 for my next year's budget. That's going to help. And the next 9 years, big deal. I'm looking down the road as far as this goes. That's where I'm coming from with that.
So are we. I mean, we're investing.
Yeah, I know you're looking at, for your best interests, I'm looking at.
The other thing in this, Keith, is the parking authority has lost money for the last 5 years each year. So it hasn't made any money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even $6,000, $7,000 a month, we can't maintain that garage for that kind of money.
Yeah.
Maintain that garage properly, we're gonna lose money. It costs more to maintain that garage properly, not like it's been maintained.
Yeah.
But to maintain it properly, it's gonna cost more. So the bottom line is, in a city, especially the size of Hazleton and the economics of Hazleton, a parking garage is a lose money situation. But in the city, we're not gonna make money, we're gonna lose money on it. We just need the parking space.
Yeah.
Well, eventually you will make money on it, because if you have the control of the parking spaces, Neil, let's be honest here, then you also have control of setting the price. So you can set a price whatever, and not that you're gonna overly inflate it, but you can set a price. Because we went through this with another building that was leased out from the city to a private entity, and guess what? We got paid pennies, and the private entity is making the major money. All right.
What happened in the city of Wilkes-Barre years ago, I mean, if you look at the Dudas lease, was a business moved downtown and had a property lease with the city. Down the road, some other future administration pulled out of the lease, and the city, the business was still stuck downtown, and all these employees in the park.
Right.
So think about
And I understand what you're saying.
If you're business downtown, you knew you had to have parking. You have to be guaranteed that parking. Otherwise, where do I put 140 cars?
Yeah.
We understand your dilemma. I mean, and I don't even know how you ended up with this whole scenario, because like I said, we're not ever told anything. And as far as we knew, you were up in Cunningham Drive, you have a big parking lot, you have a nice plot of land, and, if you were gonna expand, we assumed it would be up there. Now we moved you down here, there's KOZ for 10 years, which is hurting our city, and not that it's your fault, because that's tax money we're losing for 10 years, all right? Hopefully we'll make it up afterwards, because the property will be developed, but for that 10-year period, we're being shorted now. And I understand your dilemma. You need that parking.
I have one question. Did the mayor say if he'd go out to bid as soon as you had your lease, or what's that?
I believe, or this lease, I guess, is pending him going out to bid, and I don't know.
I don't even know how he can bid if we don't have the parking authority.
Well, I guess that would be his first
Chris.
step. That may be his first step when he says that, is disbanding the parking authority. I don't know.
He
Obviously-
was supposed to do that a year and a half ago.
Well, I think
I know,
they were waiting for
We have
other
the
things.
salaries, and not that you should understand this, placed in the budget, okay, and it was supposed to be disbanded in April. So those salaries were still placed in our budget. God knows where that money's going, because we don't know. But, I mean, they tied up that money for salaries for that year, this year. It will come, like Keith said, to the end of the year, maybe it will get done, maybe it won't. We live with a lot of maybes. Yous need to have definite answers, and we understand that. But talk to him. We certainly can't.
It's very sad for this city to be in this situation. It's horrible. It's been horrible, it continues to be horrible. I'm certainly not pointing the finger at any of you. It's embarrassing.
And it is, Neil. It is.
To see a city the size of Hazleton and what the city has going for it, could have going for it, to have the current situation that exists between the administration and the council. A lot of people have said to us, are you crazy, spending that kind of money downtown Hazleton and all? I'm starting to think they're right.
We would have,
I really am. I'm starting to believe maybe they were right.
Neil,
Maybe
we would have loved, absolutely loved to have you on board right from the beginning and knew exactly what was going on, all right?
This shouldn't have waited, this shouldn't have been this long. This shouldn't have been this long.
It's not your fault.
Okay.
Okay.
If I can,
Okay.
you know what, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I'm gonna move that we table this for this meeting so that you guys can get the stuff ready that you need and the reports and the work done that you need, and that we can get our stuff together and we can share the information. So that by the time we get to the next meeting,
That's what I was going to ask. As long as I understand what you need. I have the
I'm
engineering
talking about
report.
the engineering, I'm talking about maybe suggesting looking into planning a little bit, and I'm also taking a look at some kind of format or plan that you have in terms of the parking, and facilitate parking
For the
not only
public.
for your employees but for others, or how you might run that.
Yeah, we have to figure out something.
And those things I think are doable
Right.
Yeah,
by the next meeting.
yeah.
Agreed.
To allocate some parking for the people.
Okay, so then, present the table?
I presented to table it, I need a second,
I second it.
okay?
Roll call.
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes.
Thanks.
When is our next meeting, Lisa? Well,
Is it in the
June
beginning of
something.
June?
17th, I think. I think it's
June
June 17th.
June 17th? Will that give you enough time?
17th?
June 17th.
is that enough
Yeah,
time,
that
Neil,
should be
or-
workable. That
If
should,
it's not, we could always put
We could
another
push it,
meeting in.
we could
or
push it up
We could
to
push it back.
maybe June 7th? Would you have it ready by the week earlier?
No, I'm saying that he may need more time to get information.
no, I
Yeah.
think the 17th, that'll give us the better part of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
About 2.5 weeks to get all this stuff done. And I think that's a decent window to take a look at getting this stuff done.
Okay. Okay, next,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is
Let me get there. We have so many.
2014, awarding the audit for 2013.
This, we have to table.
Yeah, we're going to table this
I'll
because we have
present.
some. Second.
Presents Monday.
Yeah, we're going to, do you want to make a?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Do you
roll
want an
call?
audit this year? Do you guys want an audit this
Yeah.
year?
We're going to do that at the next meeting, Keith, definitely.
I mean,
We will definitely
we-
award that the next meeting.
We've been chastised, I know, a lot of
Yeah.
times we've chastised a lot of times for prolonging, but.
you guys
know,
keep talking
without-
about like, okay, when are we going to get
Yeah,
it?
without you being around and all that, I think it's fair now that we do this.
Yeah, you wanted to bring in them
Right.
to have a discussion
We're
for
gonna-
the next
right.
meeting.
We will do this.
So Lisa, make sure you ask the people that
Are
gave
you
the bids for
okay
the
for the
audit.
next meeting?
Yeah.
we'll have a work session for the next meeting
Oh,
so
okay.
that they can make a presentation.
Okay.
This says 2013, isn't the contract for 3 years?
Yeah, I put this in here
Oh,
because
okay.
I wanted something in for 2013 so we can actually get an audit, and they agreed to the same price as it was for 2012.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I agree.
that's why it's in here, because we keep going month after month, and we don't have anybody doing an audit for the previous fiscal year, and we're going to be in June. You know, it's kind of ridiculous. And since it is so late, I figured the same person, they know what's going
Needs to
on.
do it 3 years.
You know, that's why I did this, and I
Right,
talked to him, and he
right.
said he'd do it. And, you know,
Yeah.
Roll
Right.
call. Roll call.
Bast,
no.
Cassatt,
Would we roll, would?
This
to
is to
table-
We're
table it.
tabling this till next meeting.
No.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. We did the mooring for John. Next is 2014-71, authorizing and approving the partnership between CopLogic and the City of Hazleton for electronic police reporting capabilities for the police department.
I'll present.
Second.
On the question?
On the question,
Okay, Chief, you're in the hot seat.
No such
You'd
thing,
like to be
Councilor.
there, don't you?
Chief, I don't know enough about CopLogic, and I got to be honest with you. I read some of the emails about it, and afterwards I was taking a look, and I called Ben Salem this afternoon. I met a wonderful lieutenant down there who tried to explain some of this to me. If you could give me a helping hand with this, the lieutenant down there that I spoke with said that they, first of all, they just started it in 2013, and they are connecting it to a report program called Cody. It can be used as a standalone, or it can be interfaced with other programs that help generate reports properly for the department to meet legal standards and all that. But do we have something like that, or is this to be a standalone?
Neither.
Neither.
Right. We don't have anything like Cody. That's their records management system.
Yes, sir.
We don't use that records management system. We use Visual Alert. CopLogic interfaces with, I think, 67 different records management companies, so it really doesn't matter which one of the top 100 companies you use. But it's not going to be standalone either. So we don't use Cody, but it won't be standalone. What this, maybe I could explain it quickly.
Back up. Let's explain what we're doing here. I mean, he
Good.
He talked to somebody.
Sure, and I noticed that they only listed Ben Salem. However, at this point, you can also call Scranton. It's Scranton's not listed on their website, but Scranton is now using CopLogic. The whole reason behind this is because the city pays thousands of dollars a year in overtime for the police to respond to non-response necessary incidents simply because people need a police report for an insurance company. Perfect example is that there's a victimless crime. There is no, you already know when you wake up on the 31st of October and you look out in the street and your pumpkin is smashed. Okay? It's a $10 pumpkin and it is a crime. However, if on the 31st of October, if I have 60 of those calls to go on, I guarantee you that the rest of the city that has serious incidents going on calls back up because we can't get to them enough. Whereas most people, all they want to do is report that their lawn ornament was stolen. And so what CopLogic does...
A question, though. How are they reporting it? Are they
That's what I'm going to get to.
911?
Normally, we would call 911, and a police officer would come out. And so
Which is a waste of everybody's time.
But more so than that, Councilman, you're right, but there's a problem with that because a lot of times the good people of this community don't want to call 911, and they say, it's just a lawn ornament, oh, never mind, and they don't report crimes that should be in our database. So when we catch somebody a week later, we can solve all of those crimes on James Street or Laurel Street or, 14th Street. So what CopLogic does, in a nutshell, is it's a computer-based program that you go onto the city's website and you log on. You want to report a crime, and it goes through the steps for you to report a crime. There's only certain crimes that you can report. You cannot report anything where a police officer has to come or it's an emergency. Right now, the city police use what is called a citizen complaint report, a CCR. You have an insurance claim that you need to make. For instance, somebody scratched the side of your car with a key. You have no idea when it happened, where it happened. It could have happened in a parking lot in Wilkes-Barre. All you know is that your car's scratched, and you called your insurance company, and before you're allowed to get it fixed, you need a police report number. This allows you to go online, fill in all the information. At the end of it, before you hit submit, the computer program is going to say, you forgot your name, you forgot your address, what's the color of your car. You then hit enter. It comes to the police department. You receive a temporary number prior to the report being corrected. Comes into our queue. A supervisor every shift, minus emergency calls, has to correct those. They review everything. They make sure that the narrative isn't somebody fooling around with Mary had a little lamb, and they're explaining in the narrative what should be. So it's not a spoof report. Once it's corrected, we either send it back to you and say, I need a little bit more information in the narrative, or we hit enter. As soon as we hit enter, you receive an email that explains to you your report has been accepted, it's in our records management system. Should you get any more information, such as if your neighbor comes home and says, I saw who scratched your car, you supplement the report, will come out. Or if you recognize, oh, my car was scratched in Wilkes-Barre, somebody called me the next day, we can close out the report. If we catch the person, we're able to go into our database, because we now have it in our database. It's an official Hazleton Police report. The report that you do when we hit enter and accept it automatically transfers all the information into our records management system, which is queryable. We save money because, first of all, we're not having to send officers to non-emergency response incidents. I don't hold officers over on overtime to handle those calls when I'm short-staffed. The public saves the ability or the time of having to come to City Hall a lot of times and take time off of work or out of their day, because there are some times where you just can't. I can't come to the police department. I'm sorry, I'm too busy. I can't miss work today to stay home and wait for a police officer. Whereas you could report it from your smartphone, you could report it from your kitchen with pajamas on, you could report it from work in Harrisburg, wherever you are that you have access to the internet. So we save money on the back end and we save the community the time. We get them the appropriate numbers that they need. And in today's day and age with our community, there are still a lot of people who, A, don't want to call 911, but they will access or enter stuff on a computer. And B, they're afraid to call the police. For whatever reason, what this does is it allows you to not have to have a cop come to your house, and you're still able to report it. Once it's up and running, and we enter it into another language.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Now, if you have, not all of the world is computer savvy, especially like the older generation.
Sure.
So what is going to be available to them?
It's another excellent question. If I could finish my last thought, because what happens is once it's up and running in English, I'm going to be able to have it up and running in Spanish, which means that you will read it in any language you want. When you transmit it, it comes to me in English. That saves a lot of translators for those type of crimes, and it gives people the ability to type because they could understand what they're typing, and it gives me the ability to better investigate crimes because on my end it's English. What else could be used for CopLogic is traffic signals that are out, parking meters that aren't working, potholes that need reported. street lights that are out, noise complaints, drug tip lines, anything you can think of that you can call and notify the city, you can do through this computer program for non-emergency services. So it becomes a portal for everybody to have an easier way of reporting. And on our end, there's no question when something was reported or not. Right now, unfortunately, I often receive complaints that people have called and left messages multiple times for multiple agencies, never receive a response, never receive a call back, don't know if it dropped off the face of the earth. When you report something non-emergency through a computer system, not only are you given a time-stamped receipt that you reported it, but on the back end of the server, there's a copy that came in. Somebody better be acting on these things.
Picture. Can you send a picture with it?
You can actually, not only can you send them, but we can actually add pictures. So if we do an investigation and come up with more information, we can supplement your report that you initiated. Along with that, you'll be able to get an immediate copy of the report, and you're not going to have to pay for those kind of reports.
But you're still going to have something available to the public.
I'm sorry. I forgot to get to your question. There'll be several ways to do that. First and foremost is the fact that if the public calls and it's something that we have to respond to, we will always respond. If you try to report something or have a neighbor or somebody and it's not allowed to be done, we'll still come out. So I'm not trying to get out. I'm not trying to get out of doing calls. If you have to report something and you come to City Hall, there will be a computer kiosk that you can enter the stuff. If you are not computer literate and you're reporting it, we'll enter it for you. It's no different than, as we move into the technology age, more and more people are attuned to, I call it Generation Thumb, where they can do everything on their smartphones, and this will give them the ability to do just that. There are penalties, so people say, well, what if somebody's reporting something and it's a lie? That's against the law. That's unsworn falsification, which means that you could be charged criminally, so you can't just make a false report.
They can trace that, too.
Absolutely.
Okay, now getting back to people being not savvy, all right? And I understand this because I see it all the time with the elderly. If they come down, they have to maybe have the keypad, like you said. And
No, we'll do it for them.
And an officer will do it for them. Now, my thing is we need to have the availability of the officer because
Sure.
a lot of times now that window is closed up, people stand in the lobby and don't know where, who,
Right.
how, what.
Because we're not on station anymore. One of the things that I've done is we're out on the road. A huge portion of the time we're on the road, which is why when you come to City Hall to see a cop, you're not looking in a window at a blind room. You're picking up the phone and dialing 911.
Maybe we can get a volunteer from URS to man something like that.
Well, the fact of the matter is that as part of the auxiliary police, one of the things that I'd like to staff is City Hall. I'd like to have volunteers that go through an auxiliary police academy, so to speak, be available at City Hall. Be there is nothing more than an information booth, and I don't want to play down an information booth. But it's extremely important when people come in, where's the tax office? Where's the health office? How do I get in touch with an officer? I got this form. How do I pay this? What is that? Where do I put my prescriptions? So there's all the more reason to have people monitoring the camera system, as we talked before.
With personal information, some things are very personal information.
Which is why it won't be just any volunteer. And it will have to be somebody who's gone through some type of training, had a background investigation.
My other question, Chief. I know Dr. Sosa said only Ben Salem and Scranton.
No, there's over 300 police departments nationwide.
I understand that,
Yeah.
Chief, but it seems like it is very strongly West Coast because
Right.
the computer company is out of California.
Correct.
In Pennsylvania, Chief.
Well, if we go with them, we'll be the third in Pennsylvania.
Why only 3? Why isn't it
Because
more?
they've just moved to the East
New?
Coast.
Is that new?
The technology isn't new. They're new in Pennsylvania because they had to build a stronghold or a foothold. But there are people.
So this is a private company who thought of this?
Correct.
And we're signing into this private company or buying their software?
Right. This is the company, of all the companies that I've reviewed, asked, this company seems to be the primo company as far as having the police transparency of giving the public the ability to do reports online.
You think Ben Salem and then Scranton has it? They just
In Pennsylvania.
So we'd be the third?
Correct, in Pennsylvania. Will be the 300 and some in the nation. Right.
There are a lot, and in fact, Ben Salem has 60 police officers and a 65,000 population that they've got to monitor. A couple of things that I have. They have a sergeant who's on duty every day. This is not his sole responsibility, but a sergeant whose responsibility it is one of his duties to review every single one of the reports that comes on in. Do we have that ability with the number at the manpower? Because I spoke to him. I said, look,
Sure,
we're only
we have that
38.
ability right now.
Do we have the ability to be able
Yes.
to monitor that? Because
We do.
I mean, we talk about the cameras.
Yeah.
And I don't want another piece of technology
Apples and oranges,
that is
Doctor.
going to be sitting there
Apples and
not
oranges.
being touched.
This is police reporting. There is a time requirement that every police report must be
You
reviewed.
wouldn't have to necessarily have a policeman go through these reports. You could, one of the clerks
No.
in the office.
I can't do that. Right now, these reports are being taken by police officers, and they're being reviewed
Yes.
every day by my supervisory staff. Every shift I have a corporal and or a sergeant, and part of what they do is review the reports from that day. So whether the report came in on the computer or an officer did it, it must be reviewed within 24 hours. I have the staff to do that because we do it right now. All I'm doing is saving time from the officers on the street so they could do better enforcement.
Yeah.
Well, they
They
were
don't have
only
to go out on frivolous
they were
calls.
only
They're not
really
frivolous. I
talking
mean,
about.
a call that isn't a serious crime.
Right. We have a whole list of them right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because we do
have,
the report right
some
now.
Numbers,
And that's-
some numbers, Chief. Or
Absolutely. Prior to me
Prior to the
becoming
numbers.
chief,
Go ahead, give 'em
I don't
to
have them with me. I apologize, but you're talking about how many calls we respond to.
well, that would be considered. That would maybe go to Cop Logic. Do you have an idea of how many?
Probably a third of the
third.
incidents that we handle. Usually, it's between 10 and 30%. But what it does for us is it allows those officers to be out on patrol, either investigating crimes that need investigated or just driving through the neighborhoods, doing more patrol work. So it frees officers up to do other things in the community. To me, that's the benefit, the transparency.
How long is this computer software life expectancy? You know, everything keeps changing in it, especially
Right.
in the computer world. How long could
Is there a fee each year?
There
Or
is, and that's
it's one fee, and then there's an annual.
you pay
fee.
$9,000 for the interface to be built for your police department because they set up our website. So when this is done, the police department's going to have a website that you go to that's a CopLogic website that reports all of the crimes. The interface fee of going through all of that is $9,000. Seizure money I have budgeted to pay for that. So it's not something I'm coming out of my line item today saying, oh, I'd like to do this. Every year from the time that it's implemented, so this year there will be a $5,000 maintenance fee. It's a software maintenance fee. So my incurring costs every year moving forward will be $5,000. The $5,000 is what guarantees that the software is compatible with whatever Windows operating system we're working, that the website, if they change some kind of graphic user interface called a GUI, that it matches and meets the new technology.
That seems pretty steep.
Actually, it's cheap compared to a lot of the maintenance fees.
From the initial 9,000 to what, 5,000 every year.
Right. My maintenance fees just for my police fingerprinting are $14,000 a year. I don't have a software maintenance. My visual alert is $6,000 a year. So $5,000 for yet, and seems to be the going or the average.
Is there a contract, Chief? You have to sign a contract.
Right. I think the contract is actually included.
How long?
Well, the contract is just that we're going to do it. We're not tying into it for any period of time.
So you could quit anytime.
Or anytime I'm ordered. So if after a year of complaints coming into the city that this isn't working, we just don't renew the maintenance, which means that we're done with it. We still own what we have.
How long has Scranton had it?
They're just up and running. The period of time that takes the longest is to take your report and make sure that it matches with the state laws of what can you report, what can you report. We already have most of that built. Scranton started from scratch. So they're only up and running a few months.
And the
What-
5,000 comes from where?
I'm sorry,
Every
what?
year? The 5,000 will come from where every year?
My budget?
Your budget, your seizure money.
No, not seizure money. I can't budget seizure money. That's illegal.
Seizure
I
money
would-
is only good for new products, right?
Well, correct. I can't
right, you
pay a
can't-
contract out of it, but I also, it's illegal for me to budget seizure money into the
Yes,
future.
I understand
Right.
that. So it's
I'm
gonna
anticipating-
come out of your budget
Right.
that you get from the city, basically. that
Correct.
you set aside. All
Correct.
right.
Part of what I believe,
5,000 is coming out of city money is what
yes,
I
ma'am.
really wanted to
Part of what I believe is that the savings of overtime will more than offset the $5,000 a year.
Did you
Plus,
talk to the Ben Salem people? Did they say that? How long do they have it?
I haven't talked to Ben Salem.
They've had it for a year, Chief.
Right.
They've
I
had
haven't
it for
talked
a
to
year.
Ben Salem.
I would, in fact, I've asked the lieutenant, I'll give you his name, I'll email you his name because I want to get the pronunciation and the spelling
Right.
accurate, and that was this afternoon on the run. It can be customized. They
Right.
have limited to minor offenses. Evidently, it can, I don't know how high it can go, but they have limited, he told me, to minor offenses at this point.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I would suggest to you, and Jeannie got the one question out of the way already about, can we afford it? And you've given us the 9,000 and the city, your budget for the other 5. One of the things that, and this is going to sound off topic, but one of the things I asked Ben Salem as well, and that is that they have this reporting form for minor offenses, and they have 911, but they also have, and I personally think after talking to a number of people, and I would like you to consider it, there are people in town here who cannot and do not, as you just said, want to call 911, and some of them are business owners. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. If I've got a, God forgive me for saying it this way, please excuse me, audience, but if I've got a prostitute standing in front of my window as a business owner for the last 3 hours, I don't want to have the sirens coming and blaring to get her the heck out of there, but I want to be able to call you. And they do have a phone number down in Ben Salem where you can still be able to call the police
We have
and
that
say,
also.
I have a problem here, and I need you to address it right now. Now, the only thing that I've been aware of is being told again and again, if you have a problem, you got to call 911.
No. As a matter of fact, we
Okay?
publicize
I
the
want
police
that.
department
I want
numbers.
it for business. Now, I don't need it for
Yeah.
it would be nice if the general public had it,
It's
but
a-
we need something for business so
Doctor,
that we don't
the
have to
number
worry
hasn't
about that.
changed. The number hasn't changed. It's always been 570-459-4940.
I'm going to get right through to a police officer.
That gets through to the police department. It does not go through to a police officer.
But it gets through to a recording. If it's only going to be listened to once a shift.
At least once a shift
But
is
at least
listened
once
to.
a shift isn't going to get that prostitute out in front of my window.
Then the
I've
problem
had-
is, here's the problem, doctor. You're asking me to circumvent the law. I can't do that. Prostitution is a crime. If you need me to respond to a crime in progress, which is a prostitute on a corner, you need to call 911. There is no way around having to contact 911. If you need to talk to a cop immediately about a criminal incident, you must call 911.
But businesses are reluctant to do that because in some cases of the harm that it will do the business. I had
Well,
a
you
gentle-
think that if a cop shows up in front of a business and the business
The
didn't call,
sirens are
the
blaring,
prostitute
yes.
isn't going to think that the business called anyway?
Well, you know what? Let me tell you, that it was a place on Alter Street, and I'm not going to start going into names right now, but I had a student who was a student worker. She was going to school. She was one of my students of political science, and she worked on Alter Street as a receptionist. And unfortunately, they had more drug dealers standing in front of her little alcove there than you and I could shake a stick at. This was 4 or 5 years ago, and she had no means of being. She would just yell at them for whatever reason. They never really gave her a hard time. But I would not want my daughter to have to sit in a reception area and have a excuse me again, audience, but I would not want to have a dealer show his such a disrespect when she's telling him to get the heck out of there that he's going to turn around and moon her. Now,
Did
I
you
want
ask her
somebody
how
to
many
come
times?
here and tell
Sure.
that guy
Did you
and
ask how many
arrest him.
times she
I
called
want him-
911?
I want him searched and I want him taken away.
Well, it doesn't work like that, doctor. But the fact is, if you want to report a crime, you need to use the tools to report a crime. And the way to do that right now, the city police dispatch is 911. There is no other way around it. If you'd like a way around it, and we had a computer system that you could go online and give us tips electronically, you can do that also.
Well, that's going to be that's the cop logic again.
That would be part of it, exactly. But the fact is that if you need to talk to a cop immediately, the only way to get in touch with the cop immediately is by dialing 911.
What have we done with the drug hotline, that tip thing?
We still have that. You can call the drug tip hotline.
And that does not give you an immediate...
No, it goes on to a recorder.
Yeah.
And then when they take the information off and they put it into a case file.
Okay.
They do investigations. But yeah, unfortunately, in today's world, the only way for us to immediately get in touch with the police officer is to dial 911.
Okay. Chief, back on to what we're talking about, cop logic here. Did you do a study to see how many 911 calls per week would actually be able to be taken over by the system and your police officers not have to go to?
I haven't broken down the specific numbers because what I'm trying to do is add to the transparency of the police department, add to the ease of the ability of the public to report crimes.
But, no, I understand
but
that.
I haven't broken the
I
numbers
just
down.
didn't know if you know, when you were doing this, just to see how many actual calls that you go out on, just on an average day or per week, if you ever looked at that.
I can tell you that it will be thousands of calls a year that are going to be able to be reported through cop logic.
Are you figuring saving overtime in the tens of thousands?
Of dollars?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm telling you right now that not only the overtime that we save as well as the additional revenue that we bring in.
Because you can go out and
because
get
I'm
tickets.
out doing something, which means that I'm writing a parking violation. I'm arresting somebody for a noise violation. I'm issuing. So the time that I have that's now free time, I'm out and have the potential to increase my revenue, as well as because I'm not responding to all of these calls that didn't need a police there, I'm able to cut down on our overtime.
Can you get an average from the other police that are utilizing it, what they've actually been able to save?
Here's the problem that I have.
Because of the size differential.
Right. The problem that I have with that would be that there's no way for me to come up with what I would believe would be a legitimate number because of the difference in the uniqueness of our community. I mean, we handled 29,000 calls last year, calls for service through the 911 center. That's astronomical. That is almost as much as Wilkes-Barre. So for me to come up and say, well, we'll save this much or that, all I can guarantee is that our overtime will be less and our revenue will be more, as well as the public will have yet another tool to immediately get information to the police department.
That would save somebody from coming down saying, I need a report, you're tying up somebody.
Right. And not only, it frees up staff because it immediately goes into the records management system. Whereas now, without computers for the police department, what happens is I run to anybody's house in the city. I fill out the report with the pencil and a piece of paper. I then have to run back to City Hall and type it into the computer system.
Are you allowed automobile accidents if you could walk away or if it's not?
Well, I can't do...
Bender.
No. That's something that no matter what, we're going to have to investigate. If it's a non-reportable and it doesn't
I
need...
thought you don't have to go to unless you could drive your car. What's the rule?
For a non-reportable crash,
Yeah.
the rule is there's no injury, there's no damage, or the cars are no property damage, meaning a hit and run. Like if I left and I ran over your yard,
I bump into your fender, you bump into mine.
and that no vehicles are necessarily need to be towed.
So the police shouldn't go to that.
No, we don't have to respond to that. And so again, that would be something that could be reported if it meets those criteria.
I could report it.
But the problem with that is you can always go home. PennDOT has the form online right now to do just that. It's called an AA600. For me to do that wouldn't make sense with what I'm trying to succeed in here, because PennDOT already has that form when you get home, and B, you're not going to sit in the middle of it, on the sidewalk or on the curb trying to report a traffic accident while you were there. So you'd go home, and when you got there, you could use the PennDOT form. But there are just a lot of incidents that we respond to that don't truly need a police response.
I think he hit a rather interesting idea, and I'd like to, I know this is probably a lot of paper shuffling on this one, but it would be interesting to see what percentage of crimes would fit into that category through a given year, if you have those kind of stats.
And I could get
And I
those
don't
stats
want them for
easily.
you. I know you don't have
Right.
them right now.
I can
and
get. I
that
don't
would
have
be
with
tough
me,
to get.
but I can
I'd
get
like
them.
to see the differential, if you don't mind.
Because we know right now, here's the other issue. You're going to have to remember that for as many people as we all talk to that are still reluctant to call 911, that means that there's a percentage of crimes out there that people are not reporting because they can't find an easy way to do it. So I believe that we'll have to think, well, the number's going to have to be higher than just the number that they went to, because once we go to this, if we're allowed to go to this, we're going to have more people reporting more things to the city, which is good because my numbers are going to go up, my clearance rates, my information, my databases will increase, but with that thought,
There's a question to ask Ben Salem and Scranton about how much did it rise.
Right.
You should be able to quantify that
Sure.
to be
Yeah.
able to see what's going on.
and I can get you the numbers right now easily of what we already take in what's called a CCR, because we're doing CCRs. What I stopped when I became chief was the fact that you used to call me for any one of these incident reports, and I used to tell you, not me, I'm sorry, the police department used to tell you, come to City Hall, get a form, take it home, fill it out. When you're done, bring it back in. I didn't like the way that made the department look. It made it look like you're going to come here, get a form, I'm going to send you back to your house, tell you to fill it out, and then when you're done, you bring it back in. I'm trying to make it easier to do what the police department has already done for years. So what I did was I stopped what I thought was the disservice of telling the community, come in, get your own stuff, go home, and then bring it back to me. I now make an officer respond to those calls and bring the CCR, and we fill it out ourselves. Because to me, that's the kind of service. I want to make sure that it's going to be done right. So when you drop it off at City Hall, you're going to take that form home and you're going to say, I'm not doing that, or I can't do that, or I don't understand that. So at least with the computer-based system, it makes it readily accessible and easier to understand. I think it's actually going to allow us to go yet to the next level with the police department, with being able to be part of the community and get them to embrace reporting crime and an ease for them of doing the same thing.
Chief, is the 9,000 plus 5, is that after 1 year another 5, or?
Every year it's 5. There's never another 9.
First year is 9 with the system, and then every year after that's 5.
The first year is 14.
First year is 9 plus 5 for the software maintenance, because whenever we put it in, but the years are not January 1st to December 31st. If I sign this contract agreement October 1st, then my year is going to run till the next October 1st. And so 5,000 is going to take you for that first 365 days and then every year forward.
And you have that in your budget, the 5,000?
I don't have it in my budget for 2014. I'll build it into my budget for 2015.
Okay, so what do you have set aside out of your seizure money?
Everything for this year,
1,000 or
plus the 5,000.
plus the
I have $14,000 set aside to pay for this for the first year.
You could use that for this
Absolutely.
year? Okay,
Absolutely.
then next year we have to pay 5,000?
Correct. Now, part of what I'd like to add, if I can, is I've worked very, very diligently over my term as chief to the fact of I've reduced our overtime by $60,000 in 2 years, not $60,000 per year.
How is it for this year up till now? How is the overtime for this year? Are you on track?
We're not over. We're well on track to being at or under budget again.
Okay.
But I've reduced our overtime by $60,000, and in the 2 years that I'm the chief of police, I've increased our fine revenue by $120,000 since 2011. And that's not per year. That's last year I brought in $120,000 more in revenue in fines than they did in 2011. And with code enforcement for 1 year, we've increased their revenue by $160,000. So collectively, over a year and a half, we've brought in $340,000 more in revenue to the city. So I think that I'm on track with saying to you, there's no doubt in my mind that us increasing our revenue will more than cover the cost of the $5,000 a year for CopLogic. If it doesn't, we scrap it. But there's no doubt in my mind it will, and I think that the community will be a lot better served with it.
How long has it been out, or how long?
I can't say. I know that they're out since at least the mid-2000s. They're out in California.
Why haven't more forces in Pennsylvania seem to?
It's just like anything. The doctor brought up one of the systems that. Well, it's right. They're on the West Coast.
Oh, there's other systems out there, but you like this system?
No. What I was getting at was that's just like a standard for police departments. There's standards for rules and regulations that you should follow, but it's not a law. It's not a requirement. A lot of municipalities, smaller municipalities, can't find the funding, don't get the seizure money, don't have a budget that they could build it into. The other part of it is a company that, I almost invented this or came up with it that's out west. There's a couple companies out there, I've never heard of any of them, that do cities to the magnitude of Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, Phoenix, Arizona, all the big metropolises, CopLogic. So it just seems to be this is the place that you really want to be when you're talking about big cities and reporting crimes. And it's not only crimes. Once we pay for this interface, and I could make this interface anything we want. It could be code enforcement complaints, it could be health department complaints, it could be garbage complaints on the street, it could be nuisance complaints. Anything that you can think of that can get reported to a city can be reported through CopLogic. So just because we paid for it doesn't mean that it's, okay, we're in a box. As we think of things that we'd like to put onto the system, we could put them onto the system. I think that the city stands to not only keep track of where our problems are, but it gives us PIN mapping. PIN mapping means that right now, if you ask me, hey, where are your most DUIs? I can't answer that. I don't have a computer system that tracks that type of stuff. When you start to do more things electronically, you build those type of systems. So when somebody calls and says, where are the most problems with arc lights?
I'd like to do it for the potholes.
Yeah,
for that reason.
well, sure. But legitimately, I mean, again, we laugh about it, but the fact of the matter is, having to go to the highway garage or having to come to City Hall to report anything becomes a nuisance and a burden in itself, and you just never get around to it. Whereas if you could start to do things online through your phone, through text messages, I'm opening up the world of...
So that's a database that tracks everything you could put... In other words, those reports and the addresses, you could put them on a map.
Yes, absolutely. They could be programmed into a GIS.
Yeah.
Chief, there's one thing about you is you love your technology. You are a technology fool. You
I can't
love
argue with you.
technology. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying you still have to remember that we have a part of the community that does not like technology, all right?
I can't argue with you about that either.
Hate having push
Right.
number one and get number
Sure,
two. And
which
go
is
to
why I'm
number
trying to build into the system the ability for you to come to City Hall and or either come to City Hall to access a computer or come to City Hall and we'll do the report in the lobby for you.
What I'm trying to say is we still need that personal element, all right?
Yeah.
And I would like to see it even more so with the police department because I get a lot of complaints, and it's no fault of the police department or yours, that it's like the City Hall is either locked, all right, and it used to be open 24/7.
Sure it did.
So they don't know where to run if there is
Right.
something out on the street and they're afraid and they want to get to City Hall for a safe place. Number two, they hit that barrier of the wall, being that the window is now barricaded up. They have the big door. You could knock. You can do whatever. Nobody answers, all right? They want accessibility. They want to know there are police officers
Sure.
are there. We need the human element.
I agree. The problem is that there aren't always police officers in there.
I understand that.
Right.
Whether at one time, and we were sold 911, 911. Oh, it's the best thing. It's the next best thing to sliced bread, all right? 911. Well, when we had our dispatchers, we really didn't have a lot of complaints because they loved the fact that when they picked up that phone, an officer or a dispatcher answered it, all right?
I'm in total agreement. The problem that I have...
The problem is you don't have enough men to
I-
go on the
I don't
street.
have enough-
And
well-
unless you want to hire
Right.
6
And I
more cops and
understand
staff
that.
City Hall.
And I understand that, but what I'm saying is somehow, some way, we have to get that human element in.
Sure. We did away with
Whether
that.
it's an officer that is on light duty even, all right? Because
I can't do that.
you're not allowed to have a light duty?
Not an officer to answer, to be in the lobby on light duty, because a lot of their light duty injuries aren't going to let them be mobile. And it would be against insurance carrier,
I'm
doctors,
just saying to sit at a desk, you know.
to not to have to deal with the public.
Yeah, just to sit at the desk and answer the phone.
Sure, they can answer phones. There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
Right now, when they're on light duty, they're in there and they're doing just that. The problem is that I'm not sure where or how people don't know. You don't know somebody's in there because they're not allowed to come out into the lobby.
I don't know if it's because of the window being barricaded. At one time, there was an officer present at that
It wasn't always
window,
an officer.
or a
but
dispatcher,
right.
or whoever. They feel that they are being shut out of their own police
Sure.
city hall. And that's the atmosphere that the public is perceiving. I think we need to do something to change that.
I'd love to. I would love to. The problem that I have is that I'm restrained by the staff that I have, and I either have my cops on the road handling incidents, because we got rid of, they were civilians that were dispatchers. We did away with that when we went to 911. That was long before well, it wasn't long before, but it was 2011. I recognize that there is a huge disconnect now because those civilians are no longer 24 hours a day answering phone calls and answering the public's questions. But I don't have officers to replace those civilians, which means that if I put an officer on the desk...
But what I'm saying is, even if you have that system, that keypad system, and there will be an officer to assist, you're telling me that there's not one always available at City Hall.
Right.
So when do they come to get this assistance when they come in?
The same as they do right now. They walk into City Hall, they pick up the phone, they have to call 911 to see an officer. If they need to come report a crime, and they come on station, report your crime, an officer comes in. If it's something that they do the CCR for, the officer will stand right there at the computer kiosk, the laptop that we bring outside, and they'll type it in right then for you. But the fact is that if you respond to City Hall, there's not always an officer there. You still have to call and have an officer come here. You're calling our dispatch.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. You would just call and an officer will immediately respond. That's I don't like the fact that we have such a disconnect. I don't. The problem is that I don't have the staff to solve the City Hall issue right now. I'd love to get to the point where we have volunteers that could monitor things, volunteers, because I don't see us having money to pay people to do it. But I do agree with you that the more solutions we can come up to how to get somebody in City Hall to be able to do this, at the same time, I have to be careful who I put in City Hall, even as a volunteer, even if they're trained, because if somebody comes into City Hall and starts trouble, it becomes a liability because now you have somebody who wasn't a cop in the middle of, but I'm
22.
right.
I have one
Go
question.
ahead,
No, I
go
just
ahead,
got one. How easy is it to use from your phone, like a smartphone? Is it?
Same as you access any website. You would just
So-
access the Hazleton City website. You'd click on Report a Crime Here, and it'll walk you right through them.
With this 9,000, and when they develop the website, could they develop an app for us?
No, it's not an application. They're developing the GUI, the graphic user interface, which is when you go to the Hazleton City website right now. You go to our website, and at the top of the website, we'll have a banner that says, Report a Crime Here.
Yes.
You click on that. It's going to take you to the CopLogic Hazleton City webpage, and you're going to go through all of the questions.
But the police station one wouldn't have. It would have a separate website. Would you still have? You could.
No, we'll have the crime reporting website, which is specific to you're reporting the crimes.
So then you could do everything on the phone, so it'd be the same as like texting the thing in.
Correct.
'Cause I've been in touch with Chicago and LA about that, so it's all the same that I got, the information I got from them. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief. I think this saves lots of money as well. We'll get it back. Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Casat,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-72, requesting C Group Energy Services to begin contract negotiations with Smart Watt Energy for the City of Hazleton street lighting project.
Present.
a second.
Any questions on the question? This is for negotiations only.
Yes.
We have to, once he comes back with a contract, I guess we'll
That's
have to
right.
decide.
Do you want to?
It was you?
Yeah, I have. I put it up.
What's that?
That's Smart Watt right there, if he wants to.
Does anybody have any questions for him?
No, he did a good job the last presentation.
No, I know it was, there was a letter from the Housing Authority, and that was for a couple streetlights. Have you done any cities with a number of, like ours, 1,400?
Yeah.
We have done quite a few performance contracts
With that many? Any close by or any in Pennsylvania?
not necessarily here.
Can you please come to the podium?
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Yeah, because you might have some questions. Other people might have questions.
I'm sorry. Not many really here because unfortunately not many people have actually done the upgrade yet. So, I mean, Wilkes-Barre has recently done one, but they've really done a larger performance contract where they've, irrigated a golf course and done a lot of other things as well. So, Wilkes-Barre has recently done that with a different company.
Okay, so you've done other cities outside of Pennsylvania. What other cities?
So we've done a lot of work in upstate New York, where we originally were founded 12 years ago. We've been in Pennsylvania about 5 years now.
5 years.
So we're definitely looking into this with other cities.
How
right
many at the Housing Authority? You know how many you replaced there?
The Housing Authority, we've just done basically what was on their property. It was a few, 10 or 12.
Streetlights.
Yes.
And then
but
lighting inside their.
Absolutely. But in terms of outdoor lighting projects, we actually run a program for National Grid where all it is LED outdoor lighting. So we're doing thousands of projects every single year exclusively just in outdoor lighting.
The one for the housing, you did their indoor lighting too.
We did.
In their apartments or?
Yes, in their apartments as well as kind of any.
You mean like you changed like those lights?
Correct. Lights like that, screw-in lamps, really any lights that are attached to the buildings. Recently, we've done a program called Free LED Giveaway Program for municipalities as well, where we were able to really use the utility money and give away these products. Unfortunately, street lighting didn't qualify for that.
Well, we could use some at the city if you have free LED lights to give out. You can bring some to us. Okay.
Yeah, that one's out up there.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Casat,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-73, requesting a traffic study be completed at the intersection of 19th and P Street to determine if there's need for a stop sign.
Present.
Second.
On the question?
I brought it up. I don't know if you have
Okay.
any questions for
I
me.
think that's, in fact, you're still relatively close at 19th Street with kids walking out that way, especially at going to and from school. I think a stop sign any place in and around there would be a help.
Are the neighbors requesting it, or have you talked to any of the neighbors?
Yes, there was an accident there about a month ago, and the lady that lived on the corner had asked the officer about getting a stop sign there, and the officer told her to go to city council. My sister was out there because she lives on the corner, so she told her who I was and that she would request one. So this is, I guess,
And it's a corner that,
there's been a few accidents there since, I've known since she lived there, and every other 19th Street across.
Is there any stop signs on
15th and 22nd, maybe 21st?
It's one on 20?
20th? Okay.
Go ahead. You want to say something, Chief?
I just want to clarify if I could. I love the idea. The verbiage makes me think traffic study. I'm paying an engineer or paying PennDOT, that's thousands of dollars. So if we can maybe amend the verbiage, if you're allowed to say a study conducted by the City of Hazleton, Streets Department, somebody, just so that we're not out having PennDOT come in or an engineering firm do it. I think this is a very simple fix to a very easy solution. Easy solution to the problem. We go out.
Maybe we should table it until the next meeting, and you can fix it.
Just add the language.
I think you could just add the language.
I went through
by the Streets Department.
Right.
Yeah, I went through the order. I couldn't find one. I saw we had erected stop signs in the last
Right.
10 years, but I couldn't find one. So this is what I came up with.
Or amend it the next, second, and third reading. My thoughts
only
are
one, too.
that.
No, it's a resolution.
Do it right
I'm
now.
sorry.
We'll
I'm
do
sorry.
it right now.
Right. But my thoughts are, we could do this really easily. There's no doubt that we can go out there, we could look at all the other 19 streets and recognize there should be one there. We come back to City Council and we report to you, here's our finding, and the next thing you know, you pass another resolution saying, put a stop sign up.
The ordinance would have to be
Okay,
put the
so-
sign up.
did you want to table this until?
No,
we
if
go
you-
No,
back?
here,
if he's saying we could
let
do
me
it.
throw this out.
No,
Let
we
me,
don't have to
let me
table
throw it out. And this replaces in second paragraph. The city, council of the city of Hazleton is requesting a study conducted by the city, do you want it police or do you want it city officials?
City of Hazleton.
City of Hazleton, okay, to determine the need for a stop sign at 19th and P Street.
Perfect.
That's fine.
There you go.
Perfect.
Lisa, you got that?
Right. I'm just trying.
Read that.
Okay, well, you making that amendment?
I'll
second
make
it.
the amendment.
I'll second it.
That the city of, council of the city of Hazleton is requesting a study conducted by the city of Hazleton to determine the need for a stop sign at 19th and P Street.
And then I'll handle that with the highway department like we
There you go.
normally do.
Okay.
And I'll be able to report back to you by the 17th
Okay.
of June with our findings.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, you made the amendment.
made the motion, you
On the
seconded.
amendment?
Roll call.
Roll call on the amendment?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes.
Put in everywhere now. I'm getting tired.
Now, on the actual
Resolution.
resolution, roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next,
Resolution 74.
Resolution 2014-74, a resolution of the governing body of the City of Hazleton, Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, authorizing, empowering, and directing the proper city officials to appoint the liaison between it and Berkheimer, the duly appointed collector of local taxes for the City of Hazleton, for the express purpose of sharing confidential tax with the City of Hazleton for official purposes. Now, I know, okay, go ahead. Second. Now, I know it used to be, it was always the city, the director, the administrator was this. I don't know why why it's not. I didn't get a chance to call Tom, but, I don't know why they're not making, it's just to get
Maybe
information.
because his title is not city administrator, it's something else. I don't know if that's why or what.
Well,
Table.
Table.
let's table
Table.
this for the
motion
for the
to
next
table.
meeting,
Second.
Yes.
on the motion to table.
I'm sorry, who presented?
Who presented?
Cassette moved to table it, and I seconded
Okay,
it, Lisa.
thank you.
Roll call.
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next, resolution 2014-75, authorizing the appointment of Father Thomas Capelloni for the services of the City of Hazleton Police Department chaplain.
Present.
Okay. I'll second.
On the question?
Just on the question, real quick. This is going to sound terrible. I'm sorry. Chief, I did take notice in the next one that you have that the psychologist was doing this gratis. Is Father doing this gratis? Too?
Absolutely.
I would think so.
I took that for
but
granted,
I
but yes.
Gotta ask
Yeah.
because it's not in the resolution.
No, it's not a silly question. If you would like to add it, feel free to, but...
No, as long as it's there. I mean, I don't,
Yeah,
I don't
it
care.
is a gratis
I needed
position.
to ask it.
Yeah.
I know he's been involved with this is the broken chair, that he's worked with the Diocese of Scranton for many years, and I don't have a problem. I do understand when you sent your memo on out to us that we, and to be fair about it, need to encompass a number of other religious leaders to be fair to everybody, because of the need of our firefighters and our police. They need that religious spirit as well as the psychological. So I don't have a problem with it.
The one thing that I'd like to add is I'm trying to start a Hazleton Police chaplaincy program. Not only will Father Capelloni, who's constantly involved anytime I need a prayer, a blessing, he comes to the police department, he sits in the patrol room, he's getting to know a lot of the officers. But what I want to do is take that to the next level and have somebody who runs the chaplaincy program so that we have you name the denomination, and we have contact information that we can call the head chaplain, so to speak, and Father Capelloni reaches out to the rabbi. And so when we have serious incidents, the police department is offering yet another level of support to the community. Okay, well, what's your denomination? Okay, I'm Jewish. Fine. Father Capelloni, get the rabbi to come to this family. It just makes sense because we're starting to see crimes of violence, crimes against a person, and I recognize that we're not only do my members need this type of support, but I recognize that I need to be able to provide this to the community.
I would suggest one thing. I don't know if it exists anymore, but there was the ministerium that was development of all of the religious within the community of Hazleton. And I would ask you to make, be it through Father Capellini or through yourself, access to the ministerium for assistance on this as well.
Right. And there's another, you're into an area where I know enough to say I don't know enough about it. Father Capelloni, who's done this all his life, knows of all of those resources and avenues and then some. But I really think that this is something that's lacking for my members' well-being as well as for the community, and I'd like to start this program.
Okay.
Thank you.
On the question, or on the roll call?
Roll call.
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Moak,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is resolution 2014-76, authorizing the appointment of Anthony Simone, PhD, for the services as psychologist for the City of Hazleton's Police Department.
Presented.
Second.
On the question?
On the question. Chief, where is Dr. Simone located at? I
Warminster.
I didn't see it here.
Warminster.
Warminster.
Right.
Where's that?
It's
That's
just north of Philadelphia.
North of Philadelphia.
Right. I think it's in Bucks County. I'm not, but I know it's outside of Philadelphia on the way to King of Prussia.
Has he worked quite a bit with our
Intimately.
personnel at this point?
He has a phenomenal working relationship. He has been involved with the traumatic stress debriefings for every incident that the police department has had for the last decade, going back into 2003, 2004. We've come into a catch-22 with the police department. My officers are involved in a traumatic incident. I order them to go get a psychological evaluation. Their medical insurance will not cover it because I've ordered them to go. Nobody's saying they're sick. I'm saying I need you to go. There's no way for the doctor. It's not workers' comp, and it's not Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So therefore, it comes out of my budget. I've spent thousands of dollars last year and thousands of dollars this year in unanticipated. I can't plan when there's going to be a traumatic incident and I have to send a cop to see a psychologist. But what I do know from the liability standpoint is if I don't get them mentally as well as physically cleared for duty and an incident happens, the city will be writing 7-figure checks. So therefore, in working with Dr. Simone, and I didn't seek him out. He sought me out when I became chief and explained, hey, I've worked with your department. I know them. He's trained with our special operations group. And he has come up with, he said, listen, I understand that sometimes the only payment I'm going to get is to spend time with your officers. I'm willing to do this gratis. The reason why he won't do Blue Cross and Blue Shield is because it becomes a medical coding issue where Blue Cross and Blue Shield says, we'll pay you, but only if you code the bill in this fashion. And here's a psychologist saying, I'm not willing to put that code down if that's not the code. So the thousands of dollars come out of my contracted services or other expenses line item. And I'm looking at this now saying, I have a psychologist. I ran it through the solicitor and the mayor, as I did the CopLogic contract and the Father Capelloni chaplain first. And the solicitor ran it through our insurance carrier. Said, hey, can we have a doctor on staff? And the insurance carrier said, of course, if in fact he knows he has no police powers, if in fact he realizes he can't arrest anybody, and if he will carry us as an additional insured on his insurance policy. He's willing to do all of that. He's not going to get paid. He's asking that, listen, if I'm making him travel, not the times that he just comes up here for a visit, but if I'm calling saying, I just had an officer involved in a homicide or a traumatic incident and I need your services, he's not charging us the $175 an hour. He's saying, hey, give me gas money to come up there and pay for my lunch. We're even. It's going to save the city thousands of dollars. He's a certified board professional. He has all the insurances that we need. He'll provide his certifications so that they're kept on file. And the fact is that my men have such a comfort level with him. And usually when you assign somebody to go, when I order you to go see a psychologist, that's not the time for you to build a comfort level. So the fact that they're on a comfort level of being willing to talk to him about issues that bother them is half of the hurdle that I face with assigning members to have this type of evaluation to keep them mentally as well as physically fit for duty.
Now, if they should decide that they would like to see him on their own without being ordered, how does that work?
That's all through their health insurance. My officers have a health insurance plan that covers psychological visits, as do most police department health insurance plans. So that's not on the city's dime. And at this point, he would be willing and able to just bill like a normal psychologist for that. Where he's saving us is for the areas where I'm ordering officers to go for a psychological evaluation or where I'm engaging a psychologist to do a critical stress debriefing, a fitness for duty evaluation. That's where we save the thousands of dollars.
Okay, I have a question. Maybe most of them have a good rapport, but maybe somebody would prefer a different psychologist to use that they have a rapport with. Is that going to be available now for them?
No. And the reason why I say no is because currently it's not available. I choose the doctor that I order them to go to because we don't have a pool for a fitness for duty evaluation. If once they go to a psychologist and it's like you go into your family practitioner and him saying, oh, you have a problem, you better go to a specialist. Pick your own specialist. But the fact is that for the fitness for duty, Dr. Simone will be the city police department's doctor who's not charging us, who can evaluate them.
I just wanted to
Right.
know how it was going to work as far as with their need to
Right.
go and their ability to go and how it's being paid for and
Right
whatnot.
now, I am only aware of 2 police psychologists in the state college to this side of Pennsylvania. One is Ned Delaney, Dr. Delaney, out of Wilkes-Barre Mountaintop, and the other is Dr. Simone. We use them both. The problem is that you can't change hats because that's ethically illegal. What happens is if you do this critical stress debriefing, you are not allowed to then recommend that somebody continue treatment and then say, oh, I'll switch hats and now I'll be your doctor and collect the money. So if I have you do the critical stress debriefing and you say they're not fit for duty, you can't become their psychologist. And that would be where they were ordered to go for medical treatment, and that would be covered by their insurance plan.
Okay.
That's why I already know the 2 doctors, and one of the doctors is saying, I'm happy to do this for your department gratis. You know, I like that. He's just a good guy, and we're into the day and age where we could sure use a psychologist on staff just because of the thousands of dollars we pay. If they're not on staff, we're still going to use them.
Right.
We're just going to pay thousands of dollars a year.
Know how it worked.
Can council use them?
I might be able to work that out for you.
Not over there.
Yeah.
Well, we need it, but they definitely are the
Thank you.
reason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it for resolutions. Comments from the audience? Okay.
No, no comment.
Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, Mark. Short and sweet, Mark. It's past my bedtime, Mark.
All right.
Start the timer.
No, I was just, there was, as far as the cop logic goes, I remember somebody asking about the Crime Watch, the app for smartphones, you know, that could have been utilized, but, you know, if that could be used for that thing, then that's fine. As far as what happened with, there's, the last few weeks I've been at the county meeting, there was a item on the agenda for a corner lot on Cedar Street, which was requested by Dominic Yanuzzi, as far as the city's intentions to go enter into negotiations for purchasing that corner lot. Now, I got 2 questions. Number one is, under what authority does Dominic Yanuzzi or any member of any administration to go up, bypass council to go to the county council to ask for purchasing property, county property? And number 2, I also found on the submittal for the adding on to the county resolution, it was submitted by the solicitor, Mr. Slusser, to the county manager. Now, when I asked Mr. Pedri at the county meeting, the county solicitor, he said that in a private conversation that he had with Mr. Slusser, that the mayor is allowed to do this, provided he's not making any contractual obligations. So, when does a opinion from the city solicitor to the county solicitor constitute as a legal opinion based on a private conversation? That's what I'd like to know. And also, as far as with what Mr. D'Angelo said about the downtown, I would like to see the redevelopment authority use the Main Street or Elm Street designation to address the blighted areas around the downtown, as I've said twice before and once at the mayor's forum. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
2 quick things.
First question I think everybody's been asking, have you answered the suits yet? Or if not, when will they be filed and have you countersued?
What's that?
Have you answered your lawsuits that were filed by the mayor and have you countersued them?
This week it will be done.
Okay. The other quick, I forgot what I was going to ask. Give me a second. I apologize. The other thing was, when talking with Dr. Sozar, he was talking about possibly having a new study on the government and having the, possibly correcting some of the changes and mistakes that were made in the council, the way the government is structured here. I want to know what's the plans for that and when will we start to see some movement on getting the government fine-tuned or readdressed.
As far as the doing any kind of government study, Norman, you can. It would take petitions by the population to do that. Okay, you can do that. The real problem right now is that, and I'm going to be honest with you, the real problem right now is it's not going to alleviate your problem that you're facing for 18 months, because it would take 18 months to finish the study and get everything through to a transition. So you can do that, and there's certainly flaws in every government, but my argument would be at this point, and you can pursue that. And as a citizenry, I think that the citizenry has every right to decide to do what they want to do. My suggestion right now is pressure on the administration to make them do what it is that they should be doing. We've heard enough little snips and jabs this evening, but the fact of the matter is that it is not one man who runs this city, and it is not one or two. There is a need to make all of the entities that need to be, whether it be blighted communities, whether it be the Planning Commission, whether it be zoning, whether it be the Redevelopment Authority, whatever it may be to take to make this city work. And unfortunately, that's what we're not seeing right now. And a change of government is not necessarily going to change that. So what it falls to you is, and every other citizen in this community, is to make sure that when you vote, that you make sure that you put in people that are going to be honest with you, that are going to be able to tell you, and I'm going to tell you right now, that fee, and it's going to sound like I'm soapboxing right now, that fee was wrong. That stormwater fee was wrong, okay? And you can say whatever, anybody else, whatever they want to about it, I feel it was wrong. Because
Great.
what it was a backdoor tax. What it was a backdoor tax. And if you're going to be honest with the people of this town, that's what they want. And if you're going to talk to them and say, look, this city, and we all know this city is not in great financial shape. I don't care what anybody says. And I don't take pride in being able to say that. I'm being realistic in trying to say that. But if you're going to open up to people and say, here are our problems, here's what we need to do, here's some of the issues that we need to solve, and here's some of the money that it's going to cost, I don't think that the people of this town are going to jump for joy going to their mailboxes, but they're going to understand, and they may very well be willing to bite the bullet to do what needs to be done, to do it right and honestly. But when you turn around and you do things behind backs of people, when you turn around and don't provide information, when you turn around and do the kind of things that we've witnessed all too many times in this city right now, that's the problem.
Let me add, she's absolutely right. It's not necessarily the type of government. We've seen government both ways. It's the people who are in that job, and they are the person who determines the direction the city goes, all right? They also have to be honest with the people and with council. We can work together if it's allowed. I don't like executive order. That has to be corrected, addressed, or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, they're not being, it's not legal. It's not being done properly.
Dictatorship using executive orders?
People are put on by executive order. They are bound to do and compelled what the mayor tells them to do, or they are eliminated. And that is not a way to run a city, all right? Number two, he's absolutely correct. You need transparency, and that word gets kicked around all the time. But the real word is honesty, all right? These people have said to me with the stormwater fee, they don't mind paying their fair share, all right? What their problem is being lied to, treat it like their opinion doesn't matter, bypassed, which happens to council all the time, the lack of respect for the community by not being truthful to them, the lack of respect to council by not being truthful to us, all right? These are the things that infuriate the public. They don't mind if you're told honestly why we have to pay this, okay? They'll kick in, they'll find it somewhere. But to come and make a bogus thing and this big hoobly-goobly, whatever you want to call it, statement that we're charging you, you're getting a penalty, which was never even placed in that fine to begin with, and being told that you're going to like it or lump it because we didn't even bother giving you an appeal process is wrong.
And the money not even being used, actuality, what it was told that you're going to be used
Exactly.
for.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you can't borrow from Peter to pay Paul, even
Right.
with the city budget. That's
Can't
what's
do it.
going on here.
But on the same token, what you're seeing right now, and you're old enough, I know you're old enough, everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but there are a lot of people here who remember Muhammad Ali is the boxer.
Yes.
And he made a living out of the rope-a-dope. Hit me all you want, hit me all you want, I'm hiding, you can't touch me. And that's what you're seeing.
Right.
You're seeing a political rope-a-dope today.
That's right. I used to go down into like the only man I'll ever say ever actually hit me was Muhammad Ali. So, but no, it's just trying to see what we can do to fine tune. I know that you said there's some things that have to be done to fine tune this government.
Right. And there are things that can be done. But again, right now, the unfortunate part is there's so many fires that are going on right now, figuratively, that we've really got to deal with.
To get the functionality back, then you can make the adjustments.
I think we've got to put together, and I think we've got to elect fine people first, and then take a look at it and say, where are the mistakes to be made, and how do we fix these? But let's get good people in office first.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, that's it. Comments from junior council?
Is he awake?
Comments from
He's like,
council?
I have to be at school at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Comments from council? Keith, would you like to make a comment?
Thank you, everyone, for being here. As far as the stormwater fee goes, what I was told when that went down was that it was a way to reduce the amount of increase in income tax because, like I've been saying for the 2.5 years that I've been here, there have been promises, there have been, over the last 2 decades, ways that have been one-year wonders to fix the income tax, and it was a way to reduce the burden on everyone by making everyone pay. And it did actually reduce the amount that would have had to get paid by each individual property owner. And that would go to the street department, which is something that I know that we desperately need. And the mayor obviously has completely gone back on everything that he told me. So that's part of that. And just thanks everyone for coming out and staying the whole night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Boy, I got like 15 things to say.
Oh, no, you
For a
don't.
change. I got pages here.
Are you taking after Dave?
You'll be in peace.
Okay, I'll just make this quick then. In the near future, I would like to discuss like accepting credit cards downstairs and eliminating the cash that would come in. It is? Okay. So that'll be quick then. Okay, I did get some things about the recreation department that we appointed somebody, but I don't know if anybody else heard that, but obviously we never did. I would also like to set up a work session at the next meeting to talk about that rental inspection ordinance, because we need to either repeal it, change it, or put it in place and start collecting. We got that letter about the pension thing that we have to act on or make a decision on. I know there's still questions about the 2014 budget, but they start the budget next week or in June. So we have to come up with our form. I mean, I've been working on the questions or line items that I want to add, but we have to actually present it to him to do it the right way. I don't want to be told that we can't change after he starts the budget. There was also the redevelopment memo with the appointment with an executive order, which does not exist. So I don't know if you recognize him or not, but so that's, to me, that spot's still vacant. If that's the redevelopment authority. He issued executive order 2014-01 to appoint somebody, which doesn't exist, and it should be -02 because he already used executive order 1 to appoint somebody else. I still got no answer about the community development engineer. As of last night, he still didn't sign.
He didn't sign the contract yet.
He didn't sign it with Barry Isaac, and they're very worried about losing the money for
This has to stop.
Green Street. Okay, we'll go real quick here. I want to thank the chief, Mike, and Rick, Joel, for the couple months. And the one other thing is, the only regret that I have on council so far is when inauguration day, before he gave his 83 pages of thing. I didn't read my prepared statement because John Ford wasn't here. So I would just like to take the time now to say thanks to him and everything else. So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Geez, I have to make this shorter, they'll kill me. And it's past my
you ran your
bedtime,
mouth
it's
all night.
pajama
Nobody wants
time.
to hear you.
Keith, I have to say to you, I understand where your position is with the storm, and first thing you should have did is, if the mayor told you and gave you information, you should have had a big question mark right then and there. But besides that, and that being said, thank you for coming. Have a great night, everybody. Stay dry. I hope it's not raining, and I'm going home and put my pajamas on.
Dave?
Get the timer for Dave.
No, Joel, thank you, first of all. Thank you, everybody else. It's a warm night. That North Cedar Street thing bothers me, and I think we need to investigate that. They were quickly and easily able to get opinions on that, but we've been waiting 2 weeks to hear about the stormwater fee and if it was legal or not, and I really worry about that. Just real quick, I jotted down 12 things that you can appeal on. Why was there no hearing? Why was the administration and city stormwater management fee not utilized in regards to that? The formula for compensation really has a problem. There's supposed to be, there's a minimum, but the minimum isn't what they originally said. It was not advertised. Some of the stormwater lines don't exist, but people are paying for it. It's a fee, not a tax. Need for money. Is this the way that you're going to get money from the people of Hazleton? The engineer cost work and the muddy the waters with everything that he's done. God knows how much that we're paid for that. Is it legal? New stormwater lines are the only thing that it was supposed to take care of, and it's a dedicated fund. So what am I missing here? The fact of the matter is there are a lot of things to appeal on, and I'm just going to ask you to do that. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to me. I'm sweating like a bullet right now, too, so
I'll make a
I'm gonna
motion
stop.
that we adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
I second it. Good night, everybody. 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 Good night, everybody.